The fairy tale village of Pegnichu, surrounded on all sides by mountains for protection from cold winds, is usually very warm there, even in the coldest time. It was located along the banks of the river, so there were never problems with drinking water. In front of the big mountains on the hill, there was a very beautiful view of the village. Especially in the fall, on the eve of the harvest, it was impossible to take your eyes off the beauty of the town. But before all this, something happened. A boy named Havis was forcibly taken from his family for the needs of the state. His father was heartbroken. He watched with pain in his heart as his own boy was taken away. The sister was also overwhelmed with sadness, not believing that she would have to part with him. The boy tried to break free, looking at his family. He shouted, "I don't want to go!" thinking that this will help. For this, he received a slap in the face from those who took him away. Heavy lay on the ground in tears and bewilderment. A formidable man, Lord Cornelius, stood above him. He told the boy to calm down, otherwise his relatives would suffer. He woke up from the scorching sun shining in his face. Having come to his senses a little, the boy could not understand where he was. There were strangers in the cart with him. Havis caught an unbearable smell. It was the smell from the corpses that littered the road. They were everywhere, and it seemed impossible to get used to. The boy could not hold back and vomited right in the cart. The men accompanying him were disdainful and did not understand how such a mattress could be a warrior. Heavy was asked why he was captured, but he was silent, not knowing how to generally behave in this company. The man took his silence as an insult to himself and wanted to put the boy in his place. But his comrades stopped him. They were sure that the boy wouldn't last long anyway, so it was better to concentrate on the goal. The boy's fear and hopeless situation only amused the villains. Heavy only watched with caution, as these two dreamed of praise and recognition for their ability. Suddenly, someone put their hand on the baby's shoulder and told him not to pay attention to those who were daring, because this is their usual behavior. The good man, seeing the child's fear, apologized. "Do you happen to know where we are?" the boy asked him quietly. "How did you get here without knowing the direction?" The young man responded with laughter. "This is the 1,000-day plain," he also added. "The plain has this name for a reason, because it has no end or edge. There is no peace in it either because of two warring communities. In the north were the heavenly demons, and in the south was the union of righteousness. They have been at odds for decades, bringing destruction and misfortune. The heavenly demons included 6 families and 70 of their followers. Their path focused on purification. The union of righteousness was formed thanks to the followers of the righteous path. Serving justice, they destroyed demons, eradicating evil. The communities spend all their energy fighting each other, so the great war of the righteous and demons reigns on the plain." "What? You still don't understand anything?" The young man continued to laugh, patting the baby on the back. "It's not scary. He will understand immediately upon arrival that there will be no way out. The final one is the camp of the Union of Justice. The creaky wheels of the cart could barely withstand the load of the long journey. Having reached the appointed place, they stopped. One of the commanders called out to the soldiers. Everyone stood up as one at the signal. After all, the commander announced the formation. There were a lot of them, and everyone was ready to carry out any order. He looked with his eyes for at least a few strong guys in the replenishment. But I saw the boy and was indignant. Because he was just a child, he did not belong here. He would be deprived of his life in battle in a matter of seconds. The commander called the boy to him. The boy was afraid but obeyed the order. The commander briefly and menacingly asked his name. In a trembling voice, the baby answered, "Havis!" The man remembered that he had seen him somewhere before, but continued to ask about the newcomer's abilities. Since Heavy did not immediately understand him, he repeated himself, "Can you do anything?" But the kid honestly admitted that he couldn't do anything. The commander was confused. The idea of going here at such a young age was clearly crazy, because even those who know how to do something are cut down, so it didn't matter to him where to put the new guy. Unexpectedly, a drum warning sounded for everyone. "The enemy is attacking! The heavenly demons are coming!" the soldiers shouted. The two comrades did not have time to arrive and immediately go into battle, but they even liked it. One showed off to the other that he would now be the first to accomplish a feat. The second was confident that he would be ahead of his comrade in achievements. "Meet my fellows, demons," the commander said menacingly. "May everyone return with a shield or on a shield." He gave the command to attack. The warriors ran on command without a trace of fear in their eyes to defend their honor and interests. The demons were very confident in their abilities, bravely attacking and destroying. One fighter of light flew away. There is another one right behind him. If these goons go to the battlefield like this, It means the level of the Union fighters has reached the very bottom. The writer grinned. God, this is the leader of the demons, Mish! The warriors of the Righteous Alliance realized in horror. Mix them all with mud. The leader of the demons sent the army. The warriors of good tried with all their might to fight back. The area was in chaos and confusion. Heavy held the blade in his hands, but didn't know what to do. Should I stand or mindlessly rush at the enemy? Many people died before his eyes. The spectacle is not for the faint of heart. But he is generally a child? There was only hope in his eyes. That someone will stop this. As if from the very underworld, a fierce horseman appeared behind Heavy, trying to destroy him. The boy turned around and screamed as if he saw death itself. But like a ray of light, a brave young man stood up in defense, deciding to challenge the evil spirits. Stop! The daredevil swung with all his might, and in one fell swoop, he knocked down the demon and his horse. The minion of darkness remained alive. Whoever thought of sending a child here? The young man was indignant. He gave the baby his hand to take him away from here, but suddenly his eyes filled with pain, and the enemy's sharp sword pierced his chest. The recently crushed demon stood on his feet again, ready to bring death and destruction. Heavy was very panicked. The servant of the demons, with one swing of his sword, walked across the boy's face. He looked from on high at how the guy was suffering. As the evil warrior approached, Havis thought for a second that this was the end. The man who tried to protect him died a heroic death. Looking at him, the boy decided not to give up. He was determined to survive and return home. The carnage between communities continued and did not even think of subduing. Heavy used all his strength to crawl to the sword. Righteous, pathetic brat, I will pierce your heart. The demon spoke sublimely and boldly. Our hero took the weapon and stood up, gathering the rest of his strength into a heap. No, only you will die here today, demon. Without expecting it from himself, the boy said, How dare you challenge me, puppy? The servant of darkness went berserk, planning to punish the boy. Havis indestructibly awaited his fate. Having come to terms with the end, he remembered his father and little sister Arya. The baby heard strange sounds and opened his eyes. Like a bird, a warrior flew over the boy's head. He emitted a lot of light and masterfully wielded blades. Using incredible technique, the savior shredded the enemy like lettuce. Finally, this demon will know peace and stop bringing suffering to the innocent. The boy could not believe his eyes. Only shreds flew from the servant of darkness. The warrior, having finished his work, put his blades behind his back. This was the commander of a special detachment, healthy and strong like a bull. Heavy dropped his sword from this and looked at his savior with his mouth open. The warriors of darkness rushed to avenge their own. They confidently rushed to inflict retribution and tear everyone to shreds. Disgusting, rude louts! An unknown girl whispered into the ear of one of the demons. The evil warrior did not expect to see the girl right behind him, so he was puzzled which squad she was from. The beauty masterfully performed a somersault over her opponent's head, and quickly, like a ray of light, she struck him down, as if playing. Sandra, from the special detachment, even mocked the commander of the demonic army a little. What do these righteous people think of themselves? The commander was already angry. It dawned on the dark army that they were overtaken by a special detachment of the righteous, whom they were very afraid of. These guys are famous for their abilities, so the demons could only pray to survive. Heavy also did not understand what we were talking about, and what kind of special detachment this was. An old man who appeared on the side explained that this was a special forces unit of the Union, the best of its kind. How did it happen that the child was carried onto the battlefield? Asked the same old man to Mai, a member of the special detachment. Your wound is deep, the scar will remain. He stroked the boy. The enemy is in the minority. Surround them! The demon commander gave a desperate order. Immediately arrows flew at their heads. The dark army, one after another, was stacked in stacks, suffering wreckage. Hey, demonic beast, will you ever fight honestly? The archer's voice rang out. It was Chinar, as agile as a snake, an archer of a special detachment. The commander of the demonic army tensed specifically. He gave the order for a strategic retreat to his soldiers. The battle is not over yet. Where are you going? Asked another brave warrior of the special detachment with a grin. It was Hans, powerful as a rock, and he was clearly determined. The man secured his weapon tightly. Don't be shy, my dear, Hans said to the commander with mockery, and with all his strength he struck the enemy so that even the horse flew into the sky. It was a total collapse of the demons, because the commander himself flew away like a bird. In addition, a horse fell on him. Hans! The demon commander hissed through his teeth, but neither anger nor resentment will help him, because a special detachment had its own plans for his head. Heavy immediately noticed the strength and power of Hans, so he silently admired. Looking at these guys, it's immediately clear why they are special. Meanwhile, in Pegnichu, Heavy's hometown, their own skirmishes took place. The people gathered at the city authorities. "Father, what does all this mean?" Arya asked fearfully. He asked his daughter not to be afraid of anything, stroking her hair. The deputy city government came out to the people to notify them. "From today, you are all assigned to the construction of a fortress in Pegnichu." The father of our little hero stepped forward, wanting an explanation. He demanded a meeting with the Lord to discuss this matter. The deputy rudely made it clear that he did not intend to listen to ordinary people. "But you promised?" The man continued to be indignant. He said that he had already lost his son. His words angered his deputy more and more. With every word he said, the deputy's hand was getting closer to the sword. And in the end, he killed the man for his just demands. At this point, it became clear that no one was interested in people's rights, and any objections to this matter will be suppressed using barbaric methods. Arya, with fear in her eyes and standing over her father's body, could not believe what was happening. Maybe someone still has questions. "If you have something to say, go ahead." The deputy began to threaten the crowd. A little girl sat next to her dad, not believing that he was no longer there. The baby cried from fear and grief because she was left completely alone. The tyrant dispersed the people with threats. The Lord silently watched the actions from the balcony. Cornelius was very squeamish towards commoners. Therefore, he was angry that they dared to contradict, defending their rights. In the Plain of 1,000 Days, namely in the camp of the Union of Righteousness, their affairs took place. The commander of the Union of Righteousness, Adam, sat with a thoughtful look. "Commander, the special squad is back!" His deputy Moon burst in with the news. "What? How the hell did they manage to survive this time too?" Adam was indignant. How did they get it? Even the demon commander was dealt with and came out unharmed. He hit the table with his fist out of anger. "I have one idea that will help us get rid of them." Like a tempting serpent, Moon said quietly. The commander asked to present his ideas. The deputy mentioned a boy who had recently arrived from Unzogag. The commander listened carefully, but could not understand what exactly Moon wanted to do. Quietly and without witnesses, they discussed a cunning plan. Is this even possible? Adam was alarmed. The deputy assured that he could be relied upon in this matter. The commander was pleased, so he smiled maliciously. "Damn it, not a moment of peace!" Chinar threw a bag of arrows. If you think about it this way, this is the 5th time in a week that we have been sent to fight, the archer thought. He was sure that it was not for nothing, as if they wished death on them. But the rest of the guys calmly put their weapons in order. Hans was of the opinion that if this had been the case, then the special detachment would have been destroyed long ago, so he asked his friend not to grumble in vain. Chinar, of course, was happy about the victory, but could not understand one thing. Why is this little boy here, whom Sandra won't let out of his arms? Is it possible to just leave a seriously injured child? We need to take care of him and get him back on his feet. Elder Mai calmly explained. "Do you have a heart? He's such a cutie." Sandra was indignant. Chinar spat from not accepting the situation, but still asked where the commander had gone. Meanwhile, he was with the commander of the righteous, discussing important matters concerning their detachment. "Is this an order from Cornelius?" The warrior was indignant. "Hey! If you disrespect the name of Lord Cornelius again, you will pay. I know that your relationship is already strained, so don't overstep your bounds." How could he assign a helpless child to a special detachment? Is this even normal? Commander Oliver expressed his dissatisfaction. He may be weak, but he survived a major battle. Adam made ridiculous arguments. In general, I think that he will replace the one who moved his hooves a couple of days ago, whatever his name was. The commander of the righteous behaved like a pig. "Oh, right, Nangje! He is in the past. Now there will be a boy instead." Adam continued to go overboard. He said something else, but Oliver did not listen to this nonsense, which ruined the memory of his friend. And he threw the knives as a sign of warning. "Don't even dare say his name anymore, understand?" The commander of the special detachment said furiously, "Next time, not even your title will stop me." He finally threatened Adam, who was trembling with fear. Sandra and Chinar were still quarreling over Heavy's right to stay here. At that moment, Oliver came into them. The guys immediately stopped talking, greeting the commander. "We have new additions to our special detachment," he quietly reported to the team. No one expected to hear this. "So, the one who is worthy to replace Nange has arrived. He must be very strong." Chinar said hopefully. Oliver pointed his finger at Heavy, meaning him as a replacement. How can this small fry be a replenishment? He continued shouting. Havis himself did not understand what was happening. Are you even out of your mind? He can't even stand up for himself. Chinar could not calm his ardor. He insisted that because of the boy, everyone could be in danger. The commander only silently listened to his comrades' dissatisfaction. The boy was not pleased to hear this. Therefore, plucking up courage, he said, I can handle it. So far, I am of no use. But train me, and I will become your support in the squad, Heavy said boldly. Hans was touched by the baby's words. The commander said that it is impossible to disobey the order, so the guy remains here. Chinar left with the psychos, not believing that the boy could really help them. You don't have a heart. Old man Mai threw after him. Sandra was happy with this order and immediately rushed to continue squeezing Heavy. Oh, how great! We are like brother and sister now! The girl almost strangled the baby with her love. From today, you all are his mentors. It is necessary to teach him everything as soon as possible. Oliver gave the command, and he asked me to start training immediately. Everyone left and only old Mai noticed the alarmed look of the commander. The reason is not the boy. You would not mindlessly follow the orders of your superiors, Mai added. It seems to me that this guy got here because of Cornelius's skin. Oliver quietly expressed his guesses, but the old man did not immediately understand what could connect the boy and the Lord. I suspect that he took the boy hostage because they wanted to get rid of him, so they sent him here. The commander shared his thoughts. He's such a bastard. Sir by T, Mai muttered. That's why you and Heavy plan to take revenge on Cornelius, right? He caught Oliver's train of thought. How else? The commander smiled. Havis was already fully immersed in training. Hans asked his name 20 times and apologized for his bad memory. Also, trying to be stricter, he told the boy that he did not yet see him as a member of the squad. You said that you want to be useful to us. You will have to answer for your words. Are you ready? Asked Hans. Yes, ready! The boy shouted, trying as hard as he could. But he overworked and fell from powerlessness. The man just grinned from above, saying that he shouldn't carry bags. God, if you continue to wobble like this, nothing will come of it, added the mentor. Hans also said that you need to know your gait and control your body without much effort. Heavy didn't understand what he meant. The man picked up the boy by the collar. Ask yourself on your shoulder and ask to be attentive. He stood up, gathering his strength together.
And with all his might, he pushed off from the ground. Havis only fluttered like a rag behind him.
After a month of intensive training, the boy himself was already flying like lightning over the stones. The load on my shoulders for training was already greater, but he dealt with it very well. Your movements have become much better, said the old man who was watching him. You worked tirelessly and achieved a good result, aren't you tired? Mr. Mai asked. But this no longer seemed difficult to the boy, because he had mastered the gait of Uncle Hans. Mai said that today they have to work on something else. The kid did not understand what he was talking about, but followed the master. The elder insisted that in battle, the most important thing is control of the soul. Mighty power lies in willpower, and today he wanted to put Heavy spirit in order. The boy asked what was needed for this. Hanzengcho is a medicinal herb from which many medications are obtained, and this is exactly what is needed. The old man said that today's training is to collect more of this plant. What? Herbal collection? How will this help me on the battlefield? Heavy was indignant. Calm down your pride, son, because you will lose face. Collect and train your powers of observation. What kind of young people went? Old man Mai muttered. He gave the order to the boy not to stand, but to go in search, while he himself went about his business. The guy thought that he needed to quickly become strong and get out of here, but he didn't want to collect herbs with his weak grandfather. He didn't even see the point. On the way, he saw something similar to the desired plant. He pulled it out, although he was not very sure of his decision. Stuffing herbs into his backpack, he was indignant that at this rate he wouldn't see his family soon, because he didn't even know whether his sister and father were alive. His thoughts and indignation were interrupted by an unknown sound nearby. He hid behind a stone to take a closer look. Heavy realized that these people were from the Heavenly Demon Squad. The boy looked out from behind the stone to understand why they came here. One of the troops of darkness noticed the movement and looked towards the boy. Heavy realized that it was unsafe. Therefore, I immediately hid with bated breath. The demon warrior's companion asked what he saw there. It just seemed like we were going, the man answered. Heavy exhaled when he heard these words. I thought it had passed. The man threw dust in the boy's eyes, waited a moment, jumped onto the stone with the words, "There you are, brat! Dare to follow us." The servant of darkness rushed to attack. But the old man Mai intervened, striking the demon warrior. He took out his blades, and he rushed in to protect the baby. The old man effectively dealt damage to the enemy. He only had time to groan from the pain of defeat. In the end, our no longer so helpless grandfather defeated the villain. The army below tensed, not understanding what was happening there. And when it came, they rushed to avenge their warrior. Mai thought for a second, assessing the situation. I caught the direction of the southeast wind for accuracy, hit a boulder with a stick. Heavy was shocked that the old man moved the stone like a feather, and a piece of rock flew straight onto the heads of the fierce warriors of darkness. They were at a loss and tried to run away, but in vain. The boy looked at Mai, puzzled, wondering how he managed it. "It's a big mistake on your part to consider me a grandfather witch doctor," the old man said proudly. Suddenly, he noticed an attack. He grabbed the boy by the collar and quickly pushed him aside. It was an arrow that would not leave a wet spot on Heavy if it hit. It was a warrior of heavenly demons. His name was Sinan, and he recognized an old man from a special detachment. We learned that someone often collects herbs here, so we came to check. And then they found it. "You will go after Nanga because I do not intend to let you go alive," said this impudent person. We recognized the killer of his comrade. Demons surrounded the righteous heroes. "It won't be easy," the old man muttered, taking out something. He clearly understood that he should call for help. So I handed Havis a flare. Grandfather asked the boy to get to the hill with the tree. "After all, if you launch a rocket there, they will definitely see it in the camp." The boy was given the task of launching a rocket at the top of a hill to call for reinforcements. "Can you handle it?" Mai clarified. "Yes, you can rely on me," Heavy answered confidently. Demons rushed to attack from all sides. "Run faster, Havis, I'll cover you," said Mai. "Our opponents are a grandfather and a child. It costs us nothing to kill them." One of the demons encouraged the team. Mai swung properly, and he blew them away like insects. "I'm not just your grandfather, tramps. Have you come here to avenge Mitch?" The old man joked, trying to hurt his enemies. It worked. They got even more furious. One even vowed to personally shorten his grandfather's tongue. At all costs, he wanted to be the first to avenge Michich. Meanwhile, Havis was already in full pursuit. The old man took care of this by throwing darts at the warriors. The darts reached their target with lightning speed. The soldiers were shot down on the move. While Mai was taking care of the boy, he himself was surrounded. You talk a lot for those who can't cope with their grandfather. He egged on the demons. The old man was not a mistake, so he again smeared everyone on the ground. "Everything will end here and now, old dog." Sinan began to finish off the special righteous man. Warriors of darkness scoured the forest, trying to find the boy. They were angry that there was so much fuss with him. "Where are you hiding, bastard?" they shouted as Heavy took aim at their asses with his bow. The boy pulled the arrow properly. The men assumed that he could not have gone far. One of them heard a strange sound. It was an arrow shot by a boy. The warrior deftly dodged and immediately realized the location of the baby. Havis realized that he had missed. Without wasting time, he rushed to run towards the goal. The demonic cult warriors ran after him. For a second, their vision darkened, and their coordination was disrupted. After all, the darts that the old man threw at them were poisoned. Heavy was almost there. He tried to give a signal to the rest of the squad members as quickly as possible, so as not to let his grandfather down. "Stay still, little rat," said the warrior of darkness approaching. "Gotcha!" He hit the boy in the face with all his might. Havis was carried right up to the tree by the blow. He was a little scared and in pain. "Yes, you know how to drive yourself crazy, you bastard." The villain grabbed the boy by the throat and pressed him to a tree. "You won't get off with an easy death!" he shouted, swinging his sword. Heavy was not taken aback and thought to set off the signal flare. A flash of pink light blinded the enemy. He was carried back. This gave Heavy the opportunity to escape, but the boy did not know what to do next. The warrior became furious at his antics. "I'll tear you into small pieces," he shouted, servant of darkness trying to strike again. But suddenly, a very familiar arrow flew out from behind Havis. They were amazed that the old man alone dealt with the best army of heavenly demons. Although the grandfather was tired, he stood firmly on his feet. After all, he was considered the weakest in the special detachment, but he turned out to be very powerful. "It seems like you are a grandpa and like to collect herbs." "So, to hell with you, not flowers," Sinan said rudely. "What else can you expect from a rude demonic cult?" "We should teach you how to communicate with old people," Mai answered him. "Shut up! This sarcasm won't save you." Sinan took out the ropes. With this weapon, he sealed Mai without a chance to even move. Catch it! You won't run away anymore, Sinan mocked. It was truly a hopeless situation because the old man was tied up and these jackals began to surround him. Mai accepted for a second that this was his hour of death. He even remembered his beloved and said that they would soon unite in heaven. But I couldn't be sad for long. The arrow of salvation was already flying. She hit the demon who was trying to kill the old man. The others turned around, wanting to see what was happening. And this is just a powerful hail of arrows from Chinar. He demolished all the enemies who threatened the old man. All these devils lay and suffered from pain, while Mai remained safe and sound. Hey, old charlatan! The archer called out to him. Were you going to have a drink and didn't call us? He tried to joke. Havis did not expect to see Chinar here, so he began asking everything. But the archer said that there was no time to talk. He needed to save his grandfather. The boy understood everything. Havis immediately rushed to Sinan. They crossed swords, looking angrily into each other's eyes. Insolent runt! The guts are small, so you called for help. This asshole tried to humiliate and insult the boy. But you won't stop me from taking the old man's head! The enemy powerfully broke Havis's sword into pieces. The baby flew to the ground. Even Chinar was afraid for him. The archer wanted to help, but he ran out of arrows. You will pay for sticking your nose into the affairs of adults. And you'll die! Sinan has already begun his attack. At this moment, Heavy began to remember. Hans said that movements should be light, like a floating cloud. He also said that by mastering the gate, one will always and everywhere be able to avoid death. The boy concentrated and remembered everything he was taught. He jumped high, dodging Sinan's blow. Havis, catch! Old Man Mai shouted. He kicked the boy's sword, because his personal one was broken. Heavy thanked his grandfather for his help. Having caught the sword, our little hero concentrated on Sinan. He tried to take a defensive stance, but Havis pierced him like a bullet, leaving no chance to survive. The fight was over. The kid was praised for such achievements. You realized it brilliantly then. Mai bandaged his hands and admired. After all, you even brought Chinar with you. Today you managed to surprise the old man. Grandfather continued his praise. Heavy was pleased with such kind words, and with himself too. Who did you bring there? The boy received a slap on the head from the archer. After all, Chen appeared in the forest only because the kid stole his bow, and he had to look for the thief. Heavy apologized for the little dirty trick. Grandfather put his hand on the guy's shoulder and repeated about his outstanding successes in battle. After all, Havis did his best today, but there was no time to chat in vain. We had to return home. Heavy! You fought squad leader Hyung Wallman and won? Surprise and joy filled the entire camp of the special detachment. The boy was embarrassed and did not know what to answer. Sister is very proud of you. You are super! Sandra rushed to hug the baby. While the girl was squeezing the boy, Chinar was only muttering in the corner that she was only fit to be his aunt. Chen was angry that they were praising Heavy so much for stabbing him once. Even Hans recognized the boy as a real man. You not only stood up for yourself, you also defended Old Man Mai. Everyone stroked his head and praised him. Everyone understood that the child tried very hard and deserved praise for motivation. I'm afraid you overestimate me. Heavy was modest, which touched Sandra even more. How much is it possible? It was I who saved everyone. If it weren't for me, then both the grandfather and the boy would have already been scraped off the ground, Chinar shouted, because he was the only one who did not understand why it was necessary to praise the child. Sandra immediately hit him for his wild desire for praise so that he would let go. It was late in the evening. The kid was working tirelessly to improve his abilities. You train day and night. The commander handed the towel to Havis. He suggested that the boy take a little rest. Oliver praised him for his action today. He also said that when faced with a numerical advantage, it is worth dividing the enemy forces into groups, and when there is chaos, one should attack from an ambush. He considered this tactic the most effective. You came back to save Mr. Mai. It's good that you took care of your comrades, added the commander. The boy inquired about the old man's condition, but there was no need to worry. The grandfather is still a tough nut to crack. He has already finished 5 bowls of soup and is resting. Havis was pleased with this fact. So don't worry, it's better to focus on training, so take this. Oliver handed him the book. Heavy asked what kind of book this was and how it would help him. Once upon a time, my closest friend left this world. This is all that remains of him. He asked me to give it to someone who can take control of his heart, said the commander. This tome previously belonged to many warriors, in addition to Nange, and went through generations and a huge number of battles. Therefore, the book is considered a repository of knowledge about the real battle. "Why did you give such an important and expensive thing to me?" asked Heavy. "I think you yourself would like to have her," Oliver answered, slowly getting up from the bench. "You understand that if you have no desire to study, then neither the best mentor nor the wisest book will help. Therefore, work tirelessly." The commander gave valuable advice as he left. "Oh, and welcome to the special squad, Havis," he said goodbye. For the boy, these words were like medicine for a wound, because not everyone can hear this from a commander, especially from the commander of a special detachment. The book wrote the story of Nange's path, that in order to gain strength, he spent his entire life in battles. Since his family were commoners, the only option to survive was to become strong. However, it was not possible to get rid of the low social status. Nange did not have the ability to comprehend the technique of mastering the heart, so he was unable to advance further. But he learned that one noble family had a method of comprehending the heart, which had been honed over centuries. The boy read with enthusiasm how Nange wanted to master this knowledge. Heavy considered him an amazing person, because he built his life and skills from the very bottom. The book The Heart of Nange, which Commander Oliver gave the boy, is very similar to a memoir or diary. There, in addition to the history of Nange himself, there were also the stories of many other people. Nange dreamed of leaving the path of a warrior someday, but Heavy, despite the failures of the heroes of the book, was not going to give up. Having read enough, he closed the book. The boy did not know why he was given the book, but I knew for sure that in order to stay in the detachment and go home, I had to learn all its secrets. Therefore, I tried to devote time to meditation. Meanwhile, interesting discussions were heard from the special detachment camp. Old Man Mai found out that Oliver gave Nange's book to the boy. "My heart bled when I heard that because of Cornelius's machinations, the baby ended up here," said the commander. "Are you saying that Heavy is a puppet in his hands?" asked the old man. "Yes, and I'm already torn by this injustice," Oliver answered. The commander was sure that if the boy managed to survive here, he would definitely think about taking revenge on Cornelius. I also thought that Nange would be happy about this. "You're right. Nange hated the Lord more than he hated the heavenly demons," answered Mai. But the grandfather also mentioned that Oliver and Lord Cornelius studied with the same master. Oliver did not deny that this was true, but he hated him more than anyone in this world. But at the same time, he played a decisive role in sending the captain to this place. It was already late at night in the Unchagag Union of Justice. Cornelius studied his possessions. Deputy Lord Siren arrived in his office to report. Lord Cornelius ordered her to speak only to the point. The girl reported that a special detachment in the Thousand-Day Plain dealt with the army of Captain Micha and defeated the Hyun-Wallman detachment, led by Captain Sinan. The Lord understood that this was the right place for Oliver, and he felt confident there. He also asked about the affairs in Pegnichu. The siren informed the gentleman that everything was going according to plan, and that he would soon find what he wanted. "I told you, you just have to take the headman's son hostage so that no one else dares to rock the boat." Cornelius grinned. According to the report of the deputy of the Justice Detachment, the headman's son is now in good health and has been accepted into the ranks of the Special Detachment, informed the deputy lord. At first he was angry, because taking such a brat into a special detachment seemed complete nonsense. Cyrena tried not to drive the master away and promised to settle everything, demanding the boy's liquidation. But the lord suddenly realized what was happening and ordered the girl not to interfere. Cornelius could not get enough of this news, because now life will not seem like honey to the special detachment. The siren also began to understand the master's cunning plans. The lord planned to make Pangnachu another fortified area of the Justice Union, so he ordered the deputy to be extremely careful. She didn't argue, she just obeyed the order. "If you have everything, you can go." He waved his hand at her. She bowed and left, because she was already accustomed to such treatment. Siren came into the alliance to serve justice, but the reality was different from her ideas. The people she has to work for kill ordinary villagers in order to capture her, and they also play with the boy's life like a toy. And the girl didn't know what to do next. Heavy improved more and more, following the advice of the commander to work. In 3 weeks of diligent efforts, he managed to gain considerable strength, and he felt it. But 3 weeks is not a short time. It seemed to the boy that it was too slow. Therefore, he turned to Hans for advice on how to quickly gain strength. He was impatient to learn the skill of quickly accumulating strength. Quickly accumulate strength, you say? Okay. Hans answered thoughtfully, and he suggested having a glass to start with. Heavy was shocked by this proposal, but the rock man assured that his age was quite acceptable for drinking. While Hans filled his glass, the boy thought that he could connect drinking and training. The man poured without seeing boundaries. Everything poured out. Enough! After all, I've already poured it over the edges. The hero stopped the mentor. That's right, it spilled. After all, you can't fit a lot of intoxicating drinks into a small glass. Hans hinted at the truth. With strength, too. No matter how insatiable your desire, the vessel can only contain as much as its size allows. Heavy learned this lesson. He realized that if he failed to become a suitable vessel, it would be difficult to advance further in comprehending the technique of the heart. In spite of everything, everyone who ever touched this book unanimously admitted that they lacked abilities. However, no one writes how to overcome this. Perhaps there really is no method for quickly gaining strength. Brother, are you busy? Sandra appeared out of nowhere, scaring the boy a little. The girl suggested taking a short walk and at the same time replenishing supplies of equipment. Heavy didn't even know that there was a place for replenishing ammunition here. So you haven't been there yet. In that place, you can find any necessary weapons. She grabbed the boy and dragged him along. This place was the Union Market on the street of 10,000 things. Despite the long war, people live here. And in order to survive, they created a market where you can find absolutely everything for battle and more. Heavy was surprised that the market was launched right in the middle of hostilities. Sandra was sure that if you live only in battles, you will forget what ordinary life looks like. They happily stomped around the market together, looking at everything around them. People recognized the girl. Only good words followed her, because she was considered a flower in the middle of the war, but they could not understand what kind of boy was next to her. Sandra rejoiced like a child at every trinket, because she misses it so much during the war. She was so carried away by the trinkets that she broke away from Heavy a little. Ugh, what is this? A market or a pigsty? Our hero suddenly heard pathetic statements. How can people live in such a garbage dump? The spoiled quartermaster of the Union of Justice, Charlie, along with his servant, was insolent. They just walked and were indignant at how life was not fair and how poor they deserved better. Heavy recognized him and called out to him. He turned around in horror. The boy immediately hit him for such impudence. Havis's blow plunged the spoiled guy right face first into the dirt. Charlie, what did you call this place? Repeat and I will ask you, the boy said menacingly. The servant rushed to avenge the quartermaster. Who else are you? Obnoxious woman, he said, without thinking about the consequences to Sandra, who stopped him. I had to pay for these words. After all, the girl knocked him over into the swamp. Sandra took it upon herself to deal with these parasites. She started from the fact that the guys in Heavy are from the same village, that the local headman, Havis's father, entered into an unequal battle to protect the village, giving his own son as a hostage. And these two, playing the role of henchmen of the Union, eat plenty and do not deny themselves anything. Charlie and his minion apologized to the girl for their actions. You are from the same village, so why allow yourself such low behavior? She angrily stuck the knife into whatever came to hand for greater impressiveness. Charlie made excuses, saying it was his father's will, and he had absolutely no right to vote. Do you mean to say that you came here for a high position on the orders of your father? Our hero asked provocatively. However, you were forced here, Charlie said in his arrogant tone. Sandra subtly hinted that he should communicate more politely with the young warrior. Otherwise, she would use force. Sorry, sir, but after you were sent here, there was a severe shortage of manpower in the army, which is why the Union mobilized many young guys. Charlie corrected himself. But Heavy didn't even have a choice. He was really forced into the war. What about my family? Answer. The hero grabbed the insolent parasite. Well, not that very well. But at least when I left, they held up well. He clearly avoided answering. Heavy began to demand an explanation from him. He just did not boldly answer that the Union was going to build a fortress in their village. People would be sent there for hard labor. Such things happen in a Union? And whose hands is this? Sandra asked. The answer shocked them, because it was Lord Cornelius. Cornelius was a follower of the commander-in-chief of the alliance, Manhwa. He is the lord of the Union-controlled village of Unzogag. He is also the second most influential and powerful person in the Union. A lot in the Union depends on him. Sandra, of course, knew that Commander Oliver didn't get along very well with him, but she couldn't even imagine that the Lord would do such things in the name of the Alliance. Heavy began to educate Charlie, asking how he dared to pretend to be a hero in the villages. People from other villages left their homes, went to certain death. Don't you think that you are just a puppet of the Union? The boy shouted, demanding justice. I couldn't help it. If I had even made a sound, I would have been stabbed to death like a village elder, Charlie said without thinking. And then it dawned on him that he had blurted out too much. What? Heavy froze in horror. What did you do? Dad is dead? The boy couldn't believe it. While the boy was in a stupor from what he heard, Charlie escaped from his hands. He and his servant rushed to run away, shouting that they were not to blame for what had happened. Sandra wanted to catch up with the impudent people, but when she saw Heavy's condition, she stayed. It was difficult to withstand such grief. The boy simply sat down on the ground. What have I done? He thought, holding his head, not understanding how this could happen. Heavy slept almost all the time. The boy replayed in his head Charlie's words about the convict in the village. He was tormented by nightmares with scenes of his father's death. I dreamed of little Arya, who was left all alone. All this drove me crazy and gave me no rest. All members of the special squad stood outside the door, sympathizing with the baby. His little sister is being held hostage, and he is forced to fight in the war. I really feel sorry for him, Sandra said quietly to the guys. Besides, this is how I learned about the fate of my relatives. It is very difficult for a child to survive this. Hans felt sorry for the boy. Who is hanging around here of their own free will? Chinar snorted, not having a drop of sympathy. Such words will not lead to good. Heavenly punishment will overtake, Old Man Mai said to the archer after him. Night has fallen. The whole camp was snoring. Everyone was sleeping soundly. Heavy quietly got out of bed. Approaching the exit, he opened the curtain and went out. Oliver watched silently on the sidelines. The boy approached the fence. He moved aside the boards that hid his secret. He clearly planned this evening, because the boards hid the opportunity to escape. Have you ever thought of running away from here? Oliver suddenly appeared. Heavy didn't expect to see him, so it was a little awkward. I understand you. You are worried about your sister. And if you want, you can go. If you leave now, you will be free, the man said. But be prepared to be persecuted for desertion. And by the way, you won't have a chance to avenge your family either, he added confidently. Havis was very angry about this, because he could not understand how best to act. You don't think that you yourself can resist Cornelius now? The commander provoked the boy to the necessary thoughts. What should I do? The hero boiled. Fight on this plain and give my life for the alliance that killed my father? The boy asked angrily, with eyes full of pain and tears. Tell me, what do you want? The commander asked him quietly. Avenge your father and find your sister, right? Oliver answered for him. Heavy said that for this, he needs to become strong as quickly as possible. But he does not have such an opportunity to gain the desired power, so he decided to go with what he has. I don't understand. Who said it's not possible? Old Mai joined them. The guys weren't expecting him here, so they were surprised. Mai believed that Nange's book had already given the boy everything it could. Heavy didn't know what the old man knew about the book. Mai watched Nange from an early age, namely how he studied the heart technique. He also saw how the late youth reached his limit, and he also had an awareness of reaching the limit of his strength. The basis of this technique is the harmony of contemplation and movement. However, the Book of the Heart contains only the technique of contemplation. Therefore, you can declare your abilities to a certain level, but you will not be able to rise higher, and the book will not help with this, said Old Man Mai. Heavy suddenly realized why his progress was so slow. The old man said that over the years in this plane, he treated many different people and was able to invent his own method of acupuncture. In order to release impure energy, it is necessary to straighten the energy flow and awaken vital energy. In this way, the human body is transformed into its purest form. The genius old man calls it the golden acupuncture network. Mai said that thanks to this, the body is purified and becomes a vessel capable of absorbing huge amounts of energy. But he also added that to carry out such acupuncture, it is necessary to lose all available strength, and no one from the special detachment has gone through this. Mr. Mai, isn't this the technique that you created especially for your granddaughter? Asked Oliver. Grandfather quietly said that this child is already in a better world, but I want the technology to be useful and not remain a loud promise, Mr. Mai added. Oliver was against it because it was too dangerous. I'll do it, interrupted Commander Heavy. I must become stronger. Then I can return to my native village and save my sister and all the enslaved villagers, the boy added. The hero persistently asked the captain to allow this procedure. Oliver thought about it because the risk was enormous. Do you think Havis can handle this? He asked the old man. Mai saw no obstacles, because the boy went through the horrors of war several times and survived. He thought it was worth a try. However, you need to be prepared for anything. It is very painful. But that's tomorrow. Now go to bed, Grandfather said and sent everyone to their beds. Tomorrow came quickly. It was a very rainy day. The team of the special detachment did not quite understand what was happening. They saw Heavy tied up and could not understand what they would do with him. Once everything starts, there will be no turning back, said Grandfather. I really hope for you, the boy answered. Old Man Mai, taking a needle, began the golden acupuncture network. He formed a flow of energy in the needle, and with all his strength, he pierced the boy's hand. The team was horrified by what was happening. Even the cold-blooded Chinar was worried about the boy. Mr. Mai insisted that this should be endured. After all, only if you endure the pain will it be possible to move on to the next stage. Heavy did not pay attention to the pain, because he strived to return home to protect what was most dear to him. Night forest and a girl wandering alone. She felt that she was being watched, so she asked her opponents not to hide. The beauty suggested that she was surrounded by an alliance of justice, but this mission was kept secret. Even in the heavenly demons, a couple of people knew about it, and it is obvious that the Justice Alliance could know about it. You guys are clearly not from the Justice Union, said the beauty, drawing her sword. Shrewd lady, it's a pity that I have to kill you. The opponents laughed. The leader of the group gave the order to attack the girl, but this cutie is not as simple as it seems. In one fell swoop, she put down everyone who wished her death. This is not strange, because she is the Jade Empress Samantha. In the Cheonil Plain, namely in the Manmulro market, as always it was crowded, a powerful young man stood out among the crowd. In the weapons shop, its owner was quietly sleeping. Old man, long time no see. A guy suddenly entered, disturbing the workers' peace. Oh, you again. You've been coming here for 6 years as scheduled, muttered the shop owner. This young man was our Havis, but now he is already 18 years old, and he came to pick up the goods that he ordered earlier. Dedigan grumpily gave him what he came for. According to the young man's order, the weight of the chest plate was kept at 18 kilograms. Together with the shoulder pads and belt, its total weight was 28 kilograms. The old man thought he was crazy because such incredible orders were needed only by our hero. Heavy, having received his, left. Satisfied, with armor on his shoulder, the young man confidently stomped around the market. The size and weight were perfect. He knew it would help a lot in his training. While admiring the new acquisition, Adam and his deputy passed by. Heavy noticed him but did not greet him on principle. Stand, the man said to the young man. They don't teach you manners in a special detachment? In my opinion, we need to greet our seniors, the commander of the Union of Justice demanded. Do you really think that I will be polite to the one who threw me into this hole to my death? Heavy answered capriciously. These two clearly did not expect such insolence. Deputy Moon had already drawn his sword and stood up to defend the commander, even giving a lecture. Adam stopped him. There is no point in picking a blooming flower with your own hands, said the commander of the Justice Union. I don't wonder how you survived here at all. But the day will come when you and your arrogant squad leader will die in agony, he added. Suddenly, someone flew out behind Heavy's back, destroying the wall. Sick woman. Why hit so hard? Shouted the stunned archer lying on the ground. It so happened that Chinar bet his cheek for a slap if he lost in a game of chance. Sandra simply fulfilled her duty. Besides, she was already a little drunk, and Hans simply laughed, watching this spectacle. Commander Adam and his deputy watched with open mouths as the girl demolished the wall with one blow. Representatives of the command left with an important air, not wanting to look at this performance. Guys, are you playing dice again? Heavy amused himself. Oh, Havis! Have you come for your strange armor? The girl asked joyfully. The archer underneath her muttered that the young man was as crazy as she was. You shouldn't join the detachment of Black Bulls, but rather the pavilion of courtesans. Hans laughed. I'll even pick out a beautiful dress for you, Sandra taunted. But Chinar shouted that he would definitely win the next round and put them in their place. He suddenly heard a whistle, as if something was flying straight towards them. He managed to catch a flying object. For some reason, the archer mistook it for someone's joke. This thing started smoking a lot. Sandra and Hans concentrated to understand what was going on. But this is a serious matter. It is a poison that dissipates energy. All the Justice Union soldiers in the market began to cough. But the problem was that by inhaling poison, you lose the ability to use internal energy. Through the smoke, one could see the enemy army, which was clearly not in a friendly mood. One of the warriors of justice noticed the movement. The soldiers were attacked, taking advantage of their helplessness. This was an attack by the Heavenly Demon Coalition. Samantha ordered the army to find Adam, the commander of the Justice Union. The warriors of good, through coughing and poison, tried to notice the commander-in-chief. "Those who stand in our way will be mercilessly killed," said the Empress, and the massacre began. Everyone defended their interests, putting their lives on the line. Sandra inhaled poison so she could not help her comrades. Chinar did not expect at all that he could be attacked in the market. Hans just continued drinking. He was fine. Commander Oliver was in the barracks, and old Mai went to collect herbs. "I will not spare even a courtesan." The demon warrior rushed to attack the archer. "What? Who did you call courtly? You're running around in a robe," Chinar snapped. Since the archer was exhausted, Havis had to intervene. He quickly removed the enemy from his comrade with his brand new armor. "Follow Oliver, and I will try to keep them at a distance," the young man said to the team. Chinar began to be indignant that he could not admit to the commander about his next trip to gambling. Sandra helped him a little with this, giving him a kick in the ass. The Jade Empress scanned the situation on the battlefield. She noticed that our hero was not affected by the poison that dissipates energy. Sandra clicked on him.
"Warning that they are attacking from behind."
He wound his armor and hit Samantha with it. But the girl deftly rushed in and fought with him with swords. She was surprised that the guy managed to resist her. Heavy attacked confidently and powerfully. Each of his blows pushed the Empress away, not giving her a chance to win. Samantha is a strong opponent, so she also couldn't just give up. "And you are strong, right?" she said, getting to her feet. A little earlier in the coalition of heavenly demons, something happened. Samantha came to meet the bishop. "Younger sister, long time no see." Sky Demon Lord Diamond said. Samantha bowed in greeting to the heavenly ruler because she arrived at his request. This was their first meeting since the former lord of the Heavenly Demon Coalition disappeared. "When we are together, we can talk at ease." Diamond tried to ingratiate himself. Samantha was clearly not in the mood for pleasantries. "Well, of course, if that's what you want." Realizing his sister's coldness, the bishop added, the reason he called her was to send the girl to the Justice Union camp. This surprised her. Diamond said that since his sister has been locked here since the previous lord disappeared, he would like her to help in this war, which has been going on for over 10 years. Samantha clarified what exactly her task was. The elder brother said that it was necessary to kill the commander-in-chief of the Union of Justice, Adam. According to them, he often visits the Manmulro market near his camp. Diamond believed that only an enemy equal to Commander-in-Chief Adam should be sent on such a mission, which is why he chose the younger sister. That was not all. The ruler had one more assignment for the girl. The Lord saw the envelope that he handed her to be opened when she reached the base of the coalition of heavenly demons on the Kaonil Plain. Without further ado, the Empress promised her brother to fulfill all his instructions. She coped with the attack in the forest without any problems. The leader of the gang was amazed at her strength, because in appearance she seemed like a weak child. But she easily killed so many people. "I am sure that you were sent by the heavenly ruler, right?" she asked the leader, holding him by the throat. He didn't confess. He just tried to be rude and make jokes. When he began to choke, the girl threw him to the ground. "Tell my big brother to use a more creative setup method next time," she angrily ordered the leader. Already in the battle with Havis, she wanted to nail her fox move with a blow to the back of the head. But our hero tracked her intentions, and he successfully repelled him. It was quite impressive. "Is this a fox strike to you?" he asked the girl. "Just don't be rude." Samantha unexpectedly slapped him. From the blow, he demolished more than one wall. Heavy couldn't even imagine what this woman could do. When he got up, he saw the commander-in-chief and his deputy, who were trembling with fear, hiding behind a stone. "Listen, Commander, the poison didn't affect you. So why the hell are you hiding here when people are risking their lives for you? If only you could help." "You have no idea who this is," Adam said in a whisper. "This woman is the disciple of the former Heavenly Demon Lord, Jade Empress Samantha." He also quietly added, coming closer, the girl saw that everything was fine with the hero after her blow. She clearly did not expect this. "Who are you?" she asked the young man, pointing the sword at him. "I should have asked this question!" Like a ray of light, Havis rushed to continue the battle. The Empress was amazed at his speed and agility. It seemed strange that such a person was in the alliance of justice. But she is far from a failure. Therefore, she believed that she could cope with him, fighting off all his cunning moves. As soon as she thought about it, he disappeared literally in an instant. Heavy deftly appeared behind her, fully prepared to strike. Samantha felt this and instantly slipped away. The Empress found his incredible speed very interesting. He was entering a blind spot that people cannot perceive. It is like watching the movements of a leopard or a tiger, because he is able to move forward and backward by taking just one step. Sandra admired Havis's capabilities. On the surface, it might have seemed like the Jade Empress was losing, but that was far from the case. She's most likely just testing out his skills, said Hans. She is the disciple of the former Lord of the Heavenly Demon Coalition and the younger sister of the current Lord Diamond. There are rumors that in a battle with her brother, she is not inferior to him in strength. Added the warrior of the special detachment. They all waited in horror for the Empress to now use her most powerful technique against Heavy. Their battle left everyone holding their breath. Samantha switched to radical destructive methods of struggle. She used the divine Jade Fist, which clearly bothered Havis. "What is this? I haven't seen anything like this since I was born," shouted the Deputy Commander-in-Chief. "This is the divine Jade Fist. It is as stunning and magnificent as Blue Jade. It has the most destructive power. It can rival even the highest level martial arts," said Adam. The Empress raised all the sharp objects nearby into the air and directed them to Havis. No matter how he tried to quickly weave through them, he was still hurt. Our hero realized that she managed to follow his smooth, cloudy steps. They fought like winter and summer for the right to exist. Everyone else just watched with open mouths, not knowing how it would end. Their techniques merged destructively together, destroying everything around them, as if ice and fire exploded at the same time. Heavy tried to hold on, but his strength was clearly running out. "It looks like that's all you can do," Samantha said, preparing the next portion of the blow. But Commander Oliver came to the rescue, covering the young man with himself. "Havis, you did a great job holding her back?" The commander of the special detachment praised the hero. Samantha was surprised that support arrived so quickly. Oliver rushed to attack the Empress. "How annoying this is," the girl said, dodging. Using cover, Heavy decided to strike her. "Ha! What a coward," said Samantha. She kicked the hero with all her might during his attack, and she didn't leave him a chance to stay on his feet. "Who's the coward here, honey?" Hans appeared from behind. The strong man was also not going to stand by and rushed to the aid of his comrades. The Empress was surprised, because she believed that the poison had an effect on Hans. It so happened that upon hearing the noise, Old Man Mai rushed to the rescue and along the way dug up a herb that removes toxins. Sandra was already itching to punch this sheep for touching Heavy. Chinar also felt a surge of strength and was ready for battle. "Can you stand up, Havis?" asked the commander, extending his hand to the young man. "Yes, everything is fine," answered the hero, getting up little by little. In an instant, the united troops of the heavenly demons were defeated. It was a clear mistake to attack people from the Black Bull's squad. The demons made a mistake with the choice of opponents. After all, our guys are capable of almost beating the Lord of Heavenly Demons. Black Bull? You are one of the most problematic divisions of the Justice Union, Samantha noted. "You. What is your name?" she asked the hero. "I am Havis," he answered boldly. "I will remember. It seems to me that we will see each other often," the Empress said with a smile. "Who does this sheep think he is to seduce my Heavy?" Sandra rebelled, whom Chinar could barely restrain. "No one can resist the Union of Justice. Destroy these demons now!" Commander-in-Chief Adam jumped out like a leper. Deputy Moon tried to calm him down, but it was too late. The heavenly demons have already grasped their goal. Adam showed himself. "Kill him!" Samantha gave the order to her warriors. The special detachment realized that their main goal was the commander-in-chief of the Union of Justice, so they immediately rushed to protect him. Why did this idiot give himself away? "He's complicating everything," Chinar shouted during the battle with the enemies. This made Hans laugh, because the higher ranks always complicate everything, and Sandra was glad that she was confronting the genius of the coalition of heavenly demons, which she had only heard about in rumors. This even inspired her a little. Oliver met his old enemy in battle. "I'm already tired of your face, Stefan, for the last 10 years, Oliver told him, crossing his swords. "Today I will show you which of us two will win," Stefan said cheerfully. But the commander of the special detachment was determined. While everyone was needing each other, Adam briefly decided to hide. For this, he chose an alley, but did not take into account that at the end, there was a dead end. Oh, the rat is the first to flee the ship, sensing something is wrong. Samantha crept up behind him. Well, this mission is completed. The girl was confident. She aimed her destructive technique directly at the commander-in-chief. He almost shit himself from fear. At that moment, Heavy appeared. He covered Adam with himself, saving his miserable life. It was hard, but the young man successfully repelled the Empress's attack. How stupid! Are you putting yourself in danger, knowing you can't win, for this pathetic man? Samantha asked the hero. She could not understand why he was so devoted to the Union of Justice. The girl kept trying to defeat the young man. He was able to hurt her with his technique, and some piece of debris fell from her chest. She was embarrassed because she could not continue the battle in this form. I am not loyal to them, Heavy answered quietly. I'm simply fighting for my family members who are being held captive by them, he added. Samantha did not expect such a turn of events. Next time, it won't end so easily. She turned around and left them alone. She came out of the alley and reported to the team that Adam had escaped and gave the order to retreat. Stefan wanted to fight Oliver so much that he was upset. This was his favorite opponent. But what can you do? An order is an order. Live for now, Oliver. He said goodbye to his enemy. Ordered to retreat, the army of heavenly demons threw a smoke bomb in order to avoid persecution. See you next time, Havis, the Jade Empress said finally. Our hero just watched as her silhouette disappeared in a thick layer of smoke. Empress Samantha, a woman with an unknown purpose, he thought. Heavy suddenly remembered that she had turned something in the battle. On the package was the emblem of the heavenly demon lord. There was talk about the Forbidden Palace of Demons, which made the guy very wary. The Forbidden Demon Palace existed 100 years ago. At that time, 10 demons appeared who committed various atrocities. In Muram, they were known as the 10 Great Demons and were considered objects of fear and horror. To defeat them, hundreds of skilled martial artists, as well as dozens of outstanding martial artists, banded together. After a long struggle, they managed to imprison all the demons in a huge underground cave under Mount Killian. After imprisoning the 10 great demons, the entrance was sealed with metal chains and locks to ensure that they would never be able to leave the cave again. Over time, other demons who committed terrible crimes in Muram began to be imprisoned in an underground cave. This underground cave became known as the Forbidden Demon Palace. Everyone who was locked there became a forgotten world. But there are rumors that the survivors there have banded together and founded a community. From time to time, it was said that they were simply biding their time in the Forbidden Demon Palace, slowly increasing their strength. Important intrigues were discussed in the Palace of the Heavenly Demons. Lord Diamond listened to the flattering speeches of his advisor Christian. Finally, after a while, you can kick out that annoying Jade Empress from the Heavenly Demon Coalition, said the three-brained sage. Diamond didn't think she was really that annoying. She just annoyed him. According to the plan, she was supposed to die on the way to the plane. But she's a tough girl. Wasn't she one of the former Heavenly Lord's watchdogs? I was afraid that she would not obey orders. Christian expressed his thoughts to the servants. Master wanted this woman to keep me in line. He was always concerned that I was going down the path of evil, said the Lord. Christian sucked up and flattered as best he could, saying that the ruler was unique in the whole world, and so unique throughout the entire era. But Diamond believed that his abilities were due to the talented members of his family. How is the search for my master going? The bishop suddenly remembered. The advisor became silent and through fear only said that he was doing everything possible to search, but it would take a lot of time. The demon lord was angry and saw as quickly as possible to find the old man, because as long as he was alive, it would be difficult for Diamond to achieve his goal. Chris hoped to get on the trail of the former heavenly lord by following the Empress, but Diamond was sure that his master would not give himself away so easily. I would like to ask you something with your permission, the advisor said quietly. He asked what his secret mission for his younger sister was. I personally requested her, since we have successfully established contact with the Forbidden Demon Palace, to bring their people and immediately destroy the Justice Alliance base on the Kaonal Plain. The ruler told his trick. But we seem to have found the entrance to this place? Chris tensed. This is not certain, and not a single reconnaissance group returned, Diamond said with a smile. Christian roughly guessed what the bishop was leading to. After all, if a stranger penetrates into the abandoned shelter of people whom the whole world has forgotten, then this is the same as putting his hand into the mouth of a tiger. Even the Jade Empress will not be able to resist so many demons who have been practicing their demonic arts for hundreds of years. I wish you luck, little sister. Diamond smiled evilly deliberately sending his sister to be torn to pieces. Meanwhile, in the Alliance of Justice, a detachment of Black Bulls was wondering what to do with the information received. They sat at the table and sighed at the complexity of the situation. Are they really going to release criminals to deal with us? Chinar asked. Hans generally doubted the existence of these demons, because these were just rumors. How did management react? Asked old Mai. Oliver said he did not tell them about this. Everyone was surprised and could not understand why he hid this. I heard that Adam did not report the incident at the market to his superiors, answered the commander. What an asshole! He will never talk about something that could ruin his reputation, the archer shouted. Old Man Mai was sure that this worm was trying very hard to advance in his career and would never risk his name. It is not beneficial for him to act in the interests of something dangerous, such as the Forbidden Palace of Demons, for example. Adam will definitely hide everything and won't tell anyone. Sandra was silently thinking about the course of action. After all, if we allow the Palace of Forbidden Demons and the Coalition of Heavenly Demons to communicate, it will endanger the entire territory of the Justice Union, not to mention the Kaonal Plain. It was a serious matter. The commander simply remained silent, listening to his comrades. Maybe we can go alone, suggested Havis. He believed that it was their duty to defend the Union of Justice, regardless of the approval of the highest ranks. Because what kind of reporting can we talk about when everyone is in danger? This is desertion, you idiot! If we get caught, will you take responsibility? Chinar began to get nervous. First, you need to find out if this emblem is real. Oliver said. This meant that he agreed with Heavy's words. The rest of the team was shocked by his words. Someone has to do this. I will take full responsibility upon myself, added the commander. And he gave the order to all members of the detachment tomorrow at dawn to go to the Forbidden Palace. Chinar was a little embarrassed by the fact that as soon as Heavy blurted out something, everyone would immediately agree with him. But he pulled himself together, despite the fear of the Forbidden Palace of Demons. The full moon illuminated the base of the Heavenly Demon Coalition on the Kaonal Plain. By order of her master, the Jade Empress had to be near her brother in order to keep him under control. But she felt like a frog in a well. Trusting in her own achievements, she forgot that there are many other strong people in the world. Havis, even after learning that Samantha had been practicing martial arts for many years, which the master taught her, did not back down. He fought bravely for his values and interests. For some reason, the girl felt a deep connection with him and was sure that they would meet again. Disturbing her meditation, Stefan entered, the head of the Iron Sword Coalition. Heavenly Demon Sect greeted the Empress at such a late hour.
It looks like we should hit the road tomorrow morning, Samantha told him.
He was discouraged because only yesterday there was an attack on the market and the upcoming new one stressed him. The girl wanted to show Stefan the order from the ruler, but did not find it where she hid it. Samantha remembered with shame that during the battle with Havis, she dropped him. According to the secret order of the ruler, we should go together, said the girl. Stefan clarified what kind of secret order this was. He began to ask more questions, but the Empress asked him to listen silently and not allow information to leak. After all, tomorrow they had to go to the Forbidden Palace of Demons. And on Mount Kilianshan, Chinar's discontent was heard. He whined that ordinary battles exhausted him. And then this. Stop whining! Are you unhappy that we are saving the Union of Justice? Sandra was indignant. So smart. Where is this damned palace? We've been looking for him for several days. The archer was already screaming with anger. This goat is also Jade. I can't believe that it is related to the 10 great demons. That's a mess, he continued to mumble. Heavy asked if she's really as amazing and strong as they say she is. Did you fight with her without even knowing who she is? God, only you can do this, said the chief strangler of the detachment. Hans knew everything about everyone, so he volunteered to educate his comrades about Samantha. He said that the former lord of the Heavenly Demon Coalition has 2 students behind him. The first is Diamond, and the second is Samantha. They both demonstrated exceptional skill in martial arts. Diamond was ambitious. It was not enough for him to simply study the subtleties of his master's arts. He craves great power. Having chosen his ambitions, Diamond has now ascended to the position of Lord of the Heavenly Demon Coalition, and Samantha, after the disappearance of her master, becomes the Grandmaster. She always secluded herself to train and never showed herself to the world. She was recently spotted on the Kaonal Plain. In just one battle, she destroyed the entire demon-slaying squad, thanks to which she became famous as the Jade Empress. Everything quiet. There's something up ahead. Oliver stopped telling tales. This was the Valley of the Torn Sky, where the Forbidden Palace of Demons was located. Everyone looked at the palace with open mouths. They couldn't believe that he really existed. Sandra noticed that the locks were broken. But they were not broken on purpose. They were worn out by time. Everything has its expiration date, even metal. Oliver believed that in the depths of this place, there must be an entrance to the Forbidden Palace. Sandra suggested that little could be achieved here. Since there is a continuous canyon around, it is not safe to stay here for a long time. Oliver was sure that in order to find out more, he should enter. Having lit the torch, the commander led everyone behind him. Chinar, as usual, was indignant. He couldn't believe that someone could really live here for 100 years. After all, without seeing the sun, at the slightest contact with it, a person can go blind or die. Just say that you are scared without any extra background, Sandra said. You can turn into a mummy if you don't get enough sunlight. Old Man Mai said so. The archer was indignant, but grandfather did not remember this. The commander suddenly heard something. He ordered everyone to be silent.
After all, it looks like someone entered the cave.
Samantha and Stefan, as well as a special squad, walked blindly into the unknown. If this is truly a forbidden demon castle, then why don't they welcome guests from the Heavenly Coalition of Demons? It's rude of them, said Stefan. Samantha explained to him that these demons will not welcome those who are weaker than them. This answer satisfied the sect leader. The man was anticipating a huge massacre with demons who had been honing their techniques for 100 years. His eyes were already glowing when he imagined the full scale of their power. The Empress considered him narrow-minded because he only understands the word fight and nothing more. I'll walk a little further. The girl stopped. Stefan asked what happened and if there was something in front of them. Even a child will notice if you hide so carelessly. Come out, said Samantha. As one would expect from the Jade Empress, you have a keen eye, said Hans. He, with his parameters, clearly chose the wrong stone for hide-and-seek. Chinar threw a stone at him for such an offense. What are you doing here? Are you trying to get in my way again? Asked Samantha. We know that you want to unite with the residents of the Forbidden Demon Palace. We cannot allow this, Oliver answered. Stefan was indignant, because it was absolutely secret and should not have reached them. He did not know that this was due to the carelessness of the Empress. Havis took out an envelope with a secret mission from the Dark Lord. You dropped it at the market, said the hero. Samantha knew he would find him. You seem crazy to crawl into the tiger's den, but you can run away if you want, Stefan said to the commander of the Black Bull Squad. You can't go further, Stefan, with such lousy skill, said Oliver. Now I'll show you lousy skills. You've screwed up, replied the sect leader. Samantha, this day will determine who lives and who dies. Stefan took out his sword. What? Your mission is to accompany me to the Forbidden Demon Palace. The Empress was indignant. By all logic, this should be the case. But Stefan's heart spoke to cross swords with his old enemy. Now was the perfect opportunity to wash away 10 years of resentment. He was going to kill Oliver and break the chain of this annoying curse. Be patient, sect leader. We have a different goal here. She tried to return him to the right path. Stefan was sure that with enough commotion, the demons themselves would appear. Either way, I'll kill you all, the crazy warrior said decisively. Oliver was ready to face him. They merged in the energetic key of their techniques. Their blades, intersecting, sparkled in all directions. Although they fought often, they took up this matter as if with new passion. Without giving each other a chance to win, the warriors shone with equal talent. Having misfired, Stefan hit the stones with all his might. Due to the furious wave of his blow, the cave began to collapse. Chinar was indignant that because of a sick warrior, everything could collapse. The guys suddenly discovered that the space between them and the captain and Havis was all covered with stones. Leader boy, are you okay? The archer rushed to the rubble. They replied that everything was fine. Samantha wanted to make sure nothing happened to the cult leader. But before she had time to pronounce his name, this restless one jumped out with a new portion of attack for the enemy. Look into the eyes of your death and not around, Stefan shouted to his opponent. During the battle, Oliver asked Chinar to gather the entire team and got out of the tunnel as quickly as possible. How can we leave you? He was indignant. The commander said that he would soon sort everything out and follow the team, but for now, it is dangerous for everyone to be here. Let's go. We still won't help in any way, even if we stay, Sandra said to the distressed archer. Hans and old Mai asked Havis to help the commander and be careful. I'm fed up, it's driving me crazy, Stefan shouted. Every time I see your face, I feel sick, he added. You should not have any mirrors in your house, Oliver joked. He deftly struck the leader of the demon sect. After all, with a face like yours, you should be grateful that I don't hesitate to fight with you. Added the commander of the special detachment. Who do you think you are? Stefan was indignant. Samantha decided not to wait for everything to collapse and went to the Forbidden Palace of Demons herself. Havis blocked her path. You again? Asked the Empress. You never cease to amaze me, but it's better to just return to your comrades, the girl added. I also have something to protect, just like you, she said. The young man thought about her words, but did not move. I will be forced to kill you if you don't let me through, Samantha said coldly and arrogantly. Havis could not allow her to go any further, so he prepared for battle. But the Empress was not embarrassed, because she expected such a reaction. I accept your choice. Samantha took a ready stance. She lifted sharp objects into the air nearby and aimed them at Havis with incredible speed. But our hero deftly dodged every object flying at him. The Jade Empress noticed that he was faster than last time. Even though he managed to get close to her, she still didn't take him seriously. After all, he was open to her like a book. She read all his movements. When Havis launched an attack, she dodged, preparing a pull-up strike for him. When such an opportunity arose, she hit the hero with all her might. At first glance it worked, but it's not that simple. But when her vigilance was scattered, he showed her where the crayfish spend the winter. Havis simply repeated her signature divine jade fist technique. To say that she was shocked would not be enough. After all, the young man repeated the technique after one fight with her yesterday. Heavy repeated every detail of the technique with undeniable skill. Everything around rattled from his attacks and exploded in the air. He truly became a vessel for power. This was felt not only by the rock he destroyed, but by Samantha herself. This pretentious attack of yours will no longer affect me, the young man said to the Empress. As expected, you are a dangerous person, the girl said quietly. I can't let you live anymore, the Empress added, preparing to perform another cunning technique. Heavy felt the atmosphere change dramatically after her words. Let's see if you can avoid this, said Samantha. She used an illusory palm strike. Heavy realized that this was a 5-pronged Kui attack, but in response, he used smooth, cloudy steps to avoid the blow. Samantha realized that she had to concentrate and find all the flaws in the illusory palm strike. Looking at the clever young man, she thought of a way to hook him. Heavy understood that she was a serious opponent, so he was ready for anything. The Empress concentrated and used the Blizzard Fist. The hero, after analyzing, concluded that this is too dangerous for both of them, because if he dodges, the tunnel will collapse. Samantha was already ready to attack, and Heavy decided to take this blow upon himself. He intercepted the fist of the blizzard. This clash of forces led to a great explosion. Meanwhile, the guys found a way out of the tunnel, and as soon as they left, the entrance to the tunnel was blocked. But they were already expected at the entrance. They were immediately approached with accusations. From now on, all members of the Black Bull squad must be arrested for desertion, the authorities said. Sandra looked up and was dumbfounded. After all, in front of her stood Cornelius himself, the leader of the secret cloud pavilion, and the man behind him was painfully familiar to her. It was Charlie who sold the village to Heavy. He overheard a conversation between a special detachment about a secret mission and reported to his superiors, who gladly took advantage of the situation. Where is your leader, Oliver? Asked one of the senior officials. Sandra explained that Oliver was still there, and also said that only one was to blame for everything, and her squad had nothing to do with it. Why are you here and abandoned your leader? Asked Cornelius. The Jade Empress, Samantha of the Heavenly Demon Coalition, appeared with Stefan. They fought, and the cave collapsed, forcing us to be separated. She tried to convey the truth to them. Samantha, are they coming for the demons? Siren asked worriedly. Yes, but so far we haven't been able to find anything, Sandra answered. Lord, you are stupid if you are not accustomed to waiting for orders from management, Cornelius said nervously. The Lord's deputy believed that Oliver should be helped first, but her lord had a different idea about solving this situation. So Samantha is there with your leader? Asked Cornelius. He turned to one of the warriors, and he ordered to use a siege bomb and blow up the cave. Chapter, but our leader and Havis are there. Sandra was indignant, but the Lord did not see a problem in this. He believed that small casualties on the battlefield are inevitable. Suddenly, an arrow flew past him and hit the warrior standing behind him. This was done by Shinar, who was tired of listening to all this nonsense. Take another step and I'll blow your head off. The archer turned to the head. The warriors of the Union of Justice were shocked by his action, because they are on the same side. What are you all thinking? The great commander grabbed the first warrior he came across by the collar. Damned pathetic parasites! He shouted, throwing the poor guy aside. Are you ignoring the order of the secret cloud pavilion right now? The thug added when the warrior broke a stone. Also, the great commander said that those who retreat would be considered rebels and ordered the capture of the traitors. The army of the Union of Justice, either out of fear or out of despair, rushed to carry out the order. The Black Bull squad did not expect that it would come to this, but all that was left was to fight back. Samantha was carried by the wave of the blow into a stone. She thought Davis was crazy because she didn't expect him to confront her head-on in the middle of this chaos. The girl understood that if she could not use the Kyrie of a demon of mixed origin to protect herself, then there would be no guarantee for her safety, and thought that Heavy would especially not be able to stand on her feet after this. But before the Empress had time to think about it, our hero shook himself off the stones and stood up. He was more interested in whether his leader was okay. Samantha couldn't believe her eyes, because in order to use such a powerful technique, she had to master the Heavenly Demon technique to the 5th level. It was one of the best martial arts of the Heavenly Demon Coalition, and Heavy could resist this technique without hellish effort, because he became much stronger than before. The girl even suggested for a minute that our hero is a phoenix, which after achieving nirvana can become much stronger. Oliver, it looks like we won't be able to determine a winner this time either. Stefan could barely speak, as he was pierced by a sword and covered with stones. I'm tired of constantly crossing swords with you. Oliver coughed in the same state. I think if it weren't for the circumstances, we could have become good friends. The leader of the demonic sect smiled. The commander of the special detachment did not deny his words because it was sincere. Samantha found her escort in serious condition. She asked if everything was okay, but he was fading before her eyes, so he decided to ask her to do something. I know that in your eyes I look pathetic, but it looks like I'm finished. The leader of the demon sect laughed in despair. He wanted to ask her for a favor, but the girl was not friendly because he failed her task. I know it's too much to ask, but please look after my charges when you return. They have suffered through everything because of me over these 10 years, said Stefan. Having expressed his last request, the vital forces left his body forever. The Empress took a deep breath and promised to remember his will. Havis rushed to the leader. He tried to bring him to his senses, to help. Heavy, I'm sorry that I can't protect you to the end, Oliver said with the last of his strength. The hero in tears asked him to hold on, because he would do everything to get his leader out of here. This is my last order as your leader. He took his ward's hand. I trust you with the Black Bull squad. Stay with them until the end and protect your comrades. Can you become the last shield of the special squad? Asked Oliver. Yes! I will do everything. Just don't speak in such a weak voice, Heavy said through tears. The leader thanked him. In the end, the Black Bull is our pride and prestige, Oliver said to the village. After what was said, his soul left his mortal body. Havis couldn't believe it. Tears flowed naturally. Leader, open your eyes. After all, everyone is waiting for you? The young man could not come to terms with such a heavy loss. You said that we would escape safely, he said. You promised! Havis shouted and sobbed with grief, holding the hand of the already dead leader. This tunnel will collapse soon, Samantha said to Havis, who was crying on the body of the leader. If you don't leave now, you'll be in danger. I don't think your leader would want that, she added. Do you know what he wanted? Heavy asked angrily. How dare you get into this at all, said the young man. At least I know that he would not want to see you buried alive by stones in a fight with me. The Empress was indignant. Really? Asked the hero. And I know that he would not want you to live. Heavy shouted angrily and rushed to attack her. Our hero decided to throw out his pain and grief on her, so he attacked with all his strength. Samantha realized that it would be impossible to talk to him normally, because his mind was already clouded with anger. She even suggested that the young man was trying hard to follow in the footsteps of his leader. The girl, analyzing everything, dodged and began preparing for a more powerful technique. She had to resort to the Kai of a mixed-race demon. But this did not frighten Davis. Moreover, he ran to her like a butterfly to a burning fire. Only in this case, the butterfly put out the fire, the young man skillfully fought back. Samantha thought for a moment that he was using the power of spinning silk. But this was not so. The hero is so immersed in a trance of anger that he does not have the slightest idea about technology. The Empress understood that her demonic technique of mixed origin no longer worked on Havis. She could no longer afford to underestimate him. From now on, the Jade Empress was forced to fight with all her might. Heavy always stood firmly on his feet, and this surprised Samantha. She understood that he was not going to retreat. Therefore, all that remained for her was to show the young man her true strength. "Havis, you brought this on yourself," said the Empress, preparing to defeat him, this time seriously. This time the palm of pacifying demons flew at the hero, which does not give anyone a chance to survive. The young man was wary, because he had no idea what it was. It seemed to him that he could repel her attack, but that was not the case. The technique passed through Havis as if struck by lightning. Meanwhile, a special detachment kicked the ass of the warriors of the Union of Justice. When suddenly everything around began to rattle, the guys became wary. Chinar did not understand what kind of earthquake it was. Cornelius and Serena also warily waited for what would happen next. Old Man Mai felt a huge amount of demonic energy. He was sure that it was exactly the same as that of the former lord of the coalition of heavenly demons. Even for a second he assumed that he was the source of this energy. But suddenly someone jumped out from the depths of the canyon, quickly getting away from here. It was the Jade Empress. Sandra noticed her and was surprised. She suddenly wondered why she was the first to leave the cave. After all, this meant that the leader and Havis were in danger, so the girl immediately rushed to the entrance. Old Man Mai blocked her path with his knife. He knew that even if they entered there with the whole detachment, these moral monsters from the highest ranks would still blow up the tunnel. Chinar and Sandra could not believe that it could come to this. "We need to get out of here now," the old man shouted. He threw a smoke bomb and ordered a retreat. The warriors did not expect such a move. The great commander gave the order to his warriors, who could barely stand on their feet, to catch up and capture the traitors of the Union of Justice. Sandra decided to split up for a while and later meet at their usual meeting place. But unexpectedly for her, a big man appeared, loyal to his commanders. "You will not be able to survive the betrayal of the Union of Justice!" He blocked her path with a strong blow. Sandra flew into a stone with all her strength, losing her balance. "There is no mercy for traitors!" He put her by the throat. When the big man was about to deal with the girl, Cornelius intervened. After all, she was faithful to her master until the last, like a devoted dog. Said the Lord with a grin, "This type of dog is very useful, so bring her back," he ordered. The great commander did not dare to disobey. Siren asked what to do with the tunnel. The Lord considered it obvious that no one should be released from there. Therefore, he gave the order to blow up the Forbidden Demon Palace with a siege bomb, and then put out the fire before it got out of control. Siren was indignant, because first she wanted to find out whether Commander Oliver was alive. And Charlie was worried that not only the leader of the special squad was inside, but also Havis. Cornelius sighed heavily in response to their worries, because he considered these two warriors to be traitors, so their lives were not a priority for him. "Stop snotting, Miss Siren! You're too kind to those who don't deserve it," said the goon carrying siege bombs on his back. "Rest in peace, Captain Oliver!" the great commander said joyfully, setting fire to the bombs. "Don't!" Sandra screamed with all her might, having to watch it all. But the bombs were dropped. Everything around exploded and burned. Everyone looked at this horror with open mouths. Charlie mentally apologized to Havis, because he himself did not expect that it would come to this. The siren was sure that divine retribution awaited them all for such an act. With tears in her eyes, she did not understand whether she was really in the right faction. And just like that, the entrance to the palace of the Forbidden Demon disappeared, along with the leader of the Black Bull Squad. A young man who vowed to avenge his family disappeared into the dark depths of the abyss, left among the rubble of rocks, without the slightest glimmer of light to see anything. He realized that he was unable to escape his fate. His tired eyes were ready for whatever was destined to happen. But he met them. 10 years have passed since then, and life has been in full swing in the vicinity of Mount Killian. The ship plowed through the clear waters of the river, not suspecting what danger awaited it. Many people from Murim gathered on board, which caused a commotion among everyone. Among them were smiling two-faced demons. Members of the Holy Virgin sect were also present. Ordinary people were scared to watch this gathering, because their presence anticipated something wrong. They tried to find out among themselves what exactly brought them here, and what they were looking for. Suddenly, the manager of the Continental Bureau, Mikas, appeared. "Don't say that you were following us for the sake of the artifact," said the man. "Ha! Did you realize this just now, idiot?" The representative of the sect said impudently. "We are very interested in your artifact, so don't be greedy and give it to me." the girl added. It was stupid to transport such a valuable artifact on such a pathetic merchant ship, said the old man from the smiling demons. Mikas understood his mistake, but he chose the shortest route. Since his schedule was tight, the man did not even expect so many people on board. But he didn't understand how this gang knew about the ancient red jade cauldron that he was transporting. After all, it was a strictly guarded secret. Someone called out to Nikas, "We are also interested in the ancient red jade cauldron, so don't forget about us," another artifact hunter said calmly. It was Master Alex from the Great Moonblade sect. The girl from the Holy Virgin sect was even amused by this, which could not be said about Mikasa. The ancient red jade cauldron was prized because it had incredibly unique effects, especially if you use an ancient cauldron with special medicinal herbs that are brewed in it. In this way, the divine elixir of the great Brahma is created, capable of resurrecting the souls of the dead. And the people who knew his whereabouts were chosen. But it seems that someone deliberately leaked the information in order to set a trap. There is no other explanation for the gathering of so many martial artists. You are all famous masters from Murim. How do you justify the intention of stealing the national treasure of the Central Plains Kingdom? Mikas shouted, trying to achieve justice. No need to bother, just give me the red jade cauldron, Alex said serenely. They even began to bargain with him, saying that in return they promised to protect his kingdom and his treasures. Bullshit! Who are you going to protect him from? The old smiling demon was indignant. A small smiling demon conveyed a mental message that the witness should be killed. Olivia from the Holy Virgin sect caught the essence of his thoughts, because she also believed that no one should know about this incident. To keep this a secret, I will have to kill everyone here. She calmly turned to the people. The commoners on the ship panicked at this turn of fate, and Arhavis quietly watched this chaos. A bunch of artifact hunters were ready to remove witnesses, but despite their chatter and threats, no one took the first step. They probably knew each other's skills well. Who knows what would have ended if at least someone had given up? What a shame. Despite the fact that the best solution is right in front of us, we only make things worse for each other, said the stranger, who appeared at a moment of tense tension. No one immediately understood who it was. Are you Daniel, warrior of the Bloody Dragon? Olivia was puzzled, not understanding what he forgot here. People whispered when they learned his name, because this person was very famous. He was flattered that the sect of the Holy Virgin recognized him immediately. That's right. I am the one and only Daniel, Blood Dragon Warrior, he said narcissistically. Daniel was famous and feared more than anyone else on board. Even the strongest martial artists in Murim recognized the sacred technique of the divine form. Without restraint or hesitation, if he recognizes someone as his enemy, he will never leave him alive. That's why they called him the Executioner Daniel. This person belonged to the Union of Justice. Alex panicked that the Justice Alliance was interested in the ancient red jade cauldron. But Daniel reassured him. This did not concern the Union of Justice because he had a personal interest in this artifact. Alex was glad that he would not have to answer for the consequences. The Blood Dragon Warrior looked at him as if he were crazy. People just silently waited for what would happen now. The narcissistic warrior raised his hand up in order to attract more attention to himself. Instead of wasting time, let's first take the cauldron and then decide who will own it, he said. People understood that a lousy outcome awaited them because Daniel decided to set about eliminating the witnesses. He directed his power at them, taking their innocent lives. Despite the fact that he is a representative of the Union of Justice, his behavior amounted to tyranny. But this did not bother the Blood Dragon Warrior himself. All the others who wanted to get the artifact also rushed to destroy people. Olivia mercilessly killed one after another. Alex kept up with her. Stop! They didn't do anything wrong, Mikas shouted. But the villains grinned, saying that their fault was that they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. One of the hunters rushed to Heavy, who was sitting serenely on the edge of the ship. The hero did not pay attention to him and simply drank. What, do you want to get drunk before you die? He grinned. After his malicious jokes, he swung his sword at Havis, and he was already ready to deal him a fatal blow. But it only managed to touch his bandage and slightly his nerves. The poor fellow suddenly realized that he himself would now be finished. People also turned to look at the mysterious, powerful companion. Heavy, without much effort, but effectively, sent the impudent man into the world of spirits. The public could not understand what was happening. Having finished the job, he simply stood silently, collecting surprised glances. Wow, so there was a secret master here all this time, said Daniel. He asked him to introduce himself, but Havis was silent, not intending to dance to someone's tune. This seems like a freak accident, so we'll close our eyes if you just leave. The Blood Dragon warrior still spoke arrogantly. The hero, without a word, turned his back to him and prepared to leave. How dare you treat me with such disrespect? Have you learned a couple of small tricks and think you can afford it? Daniel got angry.
If you retreat now, I will spare your life, Havis calmly warned him.
Really? And if not? The Bloody Dragon warrior mocked. You will die, the hero answered confidently. The people around them were amazed at such courage, because only a master whose abilities are much higher can challenge Daniel, and no one has seen such people. My name is Daniel, I am from the Union of Justice. If you are not afraid, then take off your hat and show your face proudly. The Bloody Dragon warrior boiled with anger. Alex considered it his duty to intervene and attack the impudent stranger. Waving his murder weapon, he tried to instill fear and horror into him. The Smiling Demons and Olivia from the Holy Virgin sect also decided to put the hero in his place. By joining forces, they believed that they could easily cope with him. Daniel wanted to be the main cry. Artifact hunters flew at him from all sides, wanting to take his life. Havis concentrated and began to radiate incredible energy that amazed everyone. Daniel smugly tried to continue attacking the hero, despite the danger. But the energy of Havis's technique burned everything nearby, including the fan of the Blood Dragon warrior. The hero lightly touched Daniel's forehead with his index finger. The man, losing strength, fell off his feet, pulling Heavy's headdress with him. The legendary Blood Dragon warrior was slain in a matter of seconds, and Havis's eye didn't even twitch. He stood calmly and looked at everyone from above. Literally every one of those present opened their mouths in shock, without the slightest understanding of what was happening. After all, Daniel was a master of the highest class, and he died so quickly and pitifully. Looking at our hero, everyone was tormented by only one question. Who is this mysterious and powerful master? But the questions did not change the fact that the Blood Dragon warrior was dead. People were even afraid to look the mysterious master in the eyes, because his gaze was sharp as a blade. Who knows what to expect from him? Havis looked at the sky with some melancholy. He still couldn't believe that he had really returned after so many years of hell. Are you also in line to fight me? He turned to the others, but there were no longer any takers. I did not know that there were experts on board this vessel. Excuse me, may I know your name? Olivia asked carefully and politely. When the hero turned to her and looked into her eyes, the girl began to tremble. My name is Havis, he answered calmly. People had not heard of this, so they were confused. I knew it. You don't have a title, said a girl from the Holy Virgin sect. So what? Heavy was indignant. As a member of the Murim people, you should have known who you killed. After all, he is a Blood Dragon warrior. Olivia was indignant. So what? Heavy asked calmly. She tried to convey that Daniel was a member of the Justice Union. In addition, he was a personal student of Grandmaster Harold, the head of the Cheongwol Pavilion. No one in their right mind would have killed him. I see. Heavy laughed at these arguments. Why are you smiling? You will now be haunted by the Blue Moon Pavilion. The girl was already starting to get nervous. Harold, the leader of the Blue Moon Pavilion, will not give life to the one who killed one of his students. If Harold begins to act, the Union of Justice will join him. If this happens, you will have nowhere else to cope. Olivia tried to explain. Today, there is not a single person who could ignore the influence of the Union of Justice, she repeated. Now it is. Havis answered calmly. Are you serious? The girl could not understand his calmness. While he was mocking her, the girl was trying to understand who he was. An idiot, or a great master who is not afraid of the Union of Justice. Scoundrel, how dare you oppose the Justice Union? Even if you're crazy, don't involve us in this, the warrior shouted. I may be crazy, but I know one thing for sure. Havis turned to him. So what? He tensed. I know that you will die before me. The hero answered menacingly. The warrior became angry, clutching a weapon in his hands. The situation has become tense. A red jade cauldron is of course a valuable thing, but life was more valuable. Therefore, Olivia said that the Holy Virgin sect will retreat, despite the value of the artifact, because the value of life is higher for them. Everyone else who wanted to get the red jade cauldron tensed up, but they still decided to take what they came for. After all, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears were put into this artifact. The old man with the smiling demons was determined. They joined forces and rushed to attack. Everyone used their most powerful techniques, expending a lot of strength and energy to fight one enemy. Havis simply analyzed the situation and the skills of the attackers. As soon as they got close to him, he disappeared. Everyone stood in bewilderment. Such tricks caused fear and admiration at the same time. The hero instantly found himself behind his opponents, and his lightning-fast technique took them by surprise. It happened very quickly. To an ordinary person, it might seem that Havis was simply standing still. Once again, Havis managed to take the lives of martial artists without straining himself. Olivia was filled with horror, because these unfortunate people died without even understanding what happened to them. And this man uses military techniques unprecedented to this day, and it is obvious that he has no equal. Is he really a master who is not afraid of the union of justice and can control Muram? The thought involuntarily crept in that the world in Muram, which had been surprisingly quiet since the Great Demon War 10 years ago, would turn into chaos. The ship arrived at the port of the Fallen Dragon. Havis went down to land. Everyone looked at him fearfully, but with respect. Olivia and Mikas also silently looked after him. The assistant asked Mikasa, "Who is he anyway?" But the man only knew that his mere presence made the heart clench. The assistant suggested finding out more about him. Mikas was thinking the same thing. None of the great masters on the ship could become a rival to Havis. Even Daniel, the Blood Dragon warrior, a top-class master, was pitifully killed by his hand. He moved like a ghost, fast, precise, and powerful. Therefore, looking after Havis, Mika thought of only one thing, that this master will cause a great shock in the future of Muram. In the hotel called Great Luck, it was already evening. The lanterns were lit. People were bustling about, discussing today's incidents on the ship at dinner. The girl offered the rest of the red goods for the gentleman. She apologized to him for the meager choice, but that's really all that was left. Havis threw her a bag full of gold coins and told her to keep the change. The girl bowed and wondered how his generosity could be justified. Perhaps he really liked the color. A carriage drove up to the hotel. Mysterious persons who arrived on their own business sat in it. Meanwhile, in the hotel, everyone was calmly eating and talking. The big man accompanying the gentleman stood up and headed towards the door of the carriage. Compared to other people, he really looked huge, so they were a little afraid of him. It was clear that they were martial artists. This made people worry again, because something important had brought them here. Mikas turned around when he heard important people enter the room. The doors opened and the nobles entered the establishment. The big man drove everyone off the road so as not to interfere with their passage.
Mikas recognized the young master Demir, but could not understand the reason for his visit.
The young master heard that there was an attack on board the ship, but the man did not expect that such an influential person would come here personally because of this. But Demir believed that this was his duty. Havis heard everything, but continued to remain indifferent. Master William slowly approached the table at which the gathering of the Holy Virgin sect was sitting. "God have mercy, Mr. William. What are you doing here?" Olivia was surprised. "I heard that several mad dogs, including you, tried to steal the ancient red jade cauldron that the young master ordered. How will you be responsible for your actions?" the old master asked menacingly. "Well, I didn't know that this artifact was intended for Master Demir. Otherwise, how would I dare?" The girl got nervous. "So I don't know how." Master William looked at her with contempt. Dahmer was a genius blessed by heaven, but seriously ill. Even God could envy his intelligence. He had an exceptional mind, capable of a photographic memory, thanks to which he could understand the basic principles of any martial art at a glance. People like him are very rare, but higher powers granted him not only mercy, but also punishment. He was born with a 9-yang pulse, meaning he was destined to die before the age of 20, as the 9 vital channels would rupture due to an overabundance of yang energy. It was considered a divine punishment for a person to burn, to instantly fade away. Such people are born once every 100 years, but die before they fully demonstrate their exceptional talents. Demir will soon turn 20 years old. He will die if something is not done urgently. This is why the ancient red jade cauldron is of vital importance to him. When we learned about this cauldron, I could not even imagine that it was intended for the young Master Demir. Otherwise, I would never have tried to interact with him. Olivia tried to prove her innocence. "Are you making excuses for this?" William was already starting to get angry. "Please believe me, this is some kind of setup." The girl was already desperate, but the old master was very serious, and the girl's tears did not in any way affect his disgust for the one who had turned away from the righteous path. "Where is the ancient red jade cauldron?" asked the young gentleman. Mikas took it out of his sleeve. He hid it there all the time in order to protect it from thieves. The man joyfully presented the artifact to Master Demir. The young master admired this treasure, hoping that it would really help cure him. Give us the ancient cauldron immediately! Someone suddenly shouted. Masked people with swords tried to attack the young master. Mikas tried to protect him. Big Jack instantly repulsed the attack. The thieves writhed from his blow and begged for mercy. But Jack could not be stopped. He would stand for his young master to the end, ruthlessly kills those who want to harm him. Master William trained Jack, but he did not want him to become so bloodthirsty and cruel. The big guy often liked to use the demonic ghost sword. This technique cannot be cancelled until blood is shed. Leave before I change my mind, said the old master to Olivia. The girl and her escort immediately left the establishment. These people were sent by my elder brother? Demir asked sadly. Looks like it. There was little information leaked about the ancient red jade cauldron, so he resorted to the services of assassins. Jack answered. The young master knew that there was a big gap between him and his brother, but he didn't think it would come to this. But these are the realities of modern Muram. Most organizations that operate secretly are part of the Union of Justice, or rather, part of the secret Cloud Pavilion. Demir was impressed by the dexterity of these intrigues, but the old master believed that they were so intensified only out of despair. After all, their main competitor was recently eliminated. They are afraid of the emergence of something new. Therefore, as subordinates of the Union of Justice, they must remove all obstacles. In this way, they are able to eliminate potential threats and problems for the future. Such is the nature of the Murim. It is much more effective for them to eliminate potential threats in advance. Master Demir made fun of this, suggesting that there would be even more people who wanted to remove him. Although the old master did not see anything funny in this, the young man believed that such fuss would make his life less boring. At the moment of dialogue, someone interrupted them by pushing back a creaking chair. This was our hero, who had finished his meal and intended to continue going about his business. Dahmer and William looked at him puzzled, not understanding why he did not intervene in the fight and did not even pay attention to it. Besides, until he got up, they didn't even notice him. It was clear from Havis that he was far from a simple master. If not for this person, we would have lost the ancient red jade cauldron, Mika said to the young master. He also added that he destroyed the Smiling Twin Demons, a member of the Great Moonblade sect, and worst of all, the Blood Dragon warrior Daniel himself. Old William immediately realized that this man was indeed not ordinary. Please wait! Demir turned to Havis, but he moved on without reaction. The young master is speaking to you! Jack blocked his way. Havis turned around, silently waiting to hear what they needed. Demir just wanted to talk a little. I heard that you fought to preserve my property, said the young master. This is not because of you, but because they wanted to kill me. The hero objected. It was very stupid of them, Demir answered. Are you different from others in some way? Asked Heavy. Well, at least I'm smarter than the rest, the young man answered with a smile. But Havis was not impressed by his humor and considered it immature. When the hero was about to leave, Jack again blocked his path, citing the fact that the conversation was not over. Heavy was already starting to get angry. Please understand that my subordinate is only stepping forward for my sake. Tried to establish contact with the unusual Master Demir. If he pokes his sword in my face one more time, then I will shove it in a very unpleasant place for all of you, or I will simply kill you, Heavy said calmly. What did you say? Do you even know who he is? Yes, I'll shove it in for you now, Jack shouted indignantly. Move aside! Master William shouted to the huge student. Old William persistently ordered Jack not to block the path of this master. He accepted the order of his master with displeasure. Havis thanked the old man for this, and he, in turn, asked if he was staying at this hotel. Coincidentally, they will also be staying here for some time. I don't care who stays where. You do yours and I do mine, good luck, Havis said as he left. Why did you stop me, master? Jack asked, offended. If I had not intervened, you would not be able to talk to me now, he answered. But I wanted to understand the full power of his capabilities in battle, the big man repeated. Master William rolled his eyes in response to such ignorance and naivety. His fears were not in vain, because he immediately smelled a dangerous smell from Havis. Only those who have crossed the line between life and death many times exude such a scent. He was one who went through many trials and tribulations, and those whom you would never want to meet as an enemy. The nightmare that someone is pursuing the hero did not leave him. He imagined how they were constantly trying to attack him as soon as he lost his vigilance. How a fierce demon wants to take his life. Even in his sleep, he had to fight back. Even there, one had to be on alert. But Havis managed to win both in his dreams and in reality. Waking up in a cold sweat, he quietly returned to reality. Several days have passed since he left the Forbidden Demon Castle, but his subconscious has not yet broken free. He was not used to a soft bed because he slept on rocks for so long. Havis walked past the main entrance to the hotel, and he drew attention to the man who seemed to have been waiting for him all day. "I am lucky that I can say goodbye to you before you leave," Mika said kindly. The man even offered the hero his company as an accompaniment, but Havis sharply and briefly refused. When Mikas asked where he was in such a hurry, the heavy replied, "I'm returning to Packridge." Meanwhile, there was a loud showdown in the Blue Moon Pavilion. "What did you say?" Master Harold hit his fist in anger. "How could it happen that Daniel died?" The head of the Blue Moon Pavilion shouted. They tried to explain to him that the investigation was still ongoing, but all that was known was that his killer was an unknown master. According to the report, he killed not only the Blood Dragon warrior, but also the others, and more reports will come a little later. Master Harold was seething with anger. Therefore, he ordered to seize the unknown master and drag him here alive by any means, so that he could punish him and avenge his student. Havis lit a fire and waited for his dinner to be prepared. He noticed someone who needed food hiding behind a tree. The hero called him over. It was a frightened little boy. "It's okay, just go and eat," said Havis, pointing to the ham. The boy greedily attacked the food with words of gratitude. "You don't look like the kind of person who would walk through the forest at a time like this for no reason." "What's happened?" asked the hero. The boy was confused, but Havis did not press him. A little later, the kid began to tell that his name is Wall. He comes from the village of Cheonsu behind the mountain. Havis noticed that from that village it took a whole day to get here through the mountains. So he asked if he came here himself, but Wally admitted that he was being pursued by people from the Black Tiger Fortress. The boy also said that these people kidnapped him and blackmailed his father. Then he found out, by eavesdropping, that no one was going to let him go, even after the ransom. So he took a chance and ran away last night. "If you stay with me, you will be in danger. I'll leave as soon as I finish eating," Wally said. "You can stay here and rest, and tomorrow I will take you home," said Havis. The boy did not expect such a good attitude towards himself. He thanked him with tears in his eyes. Even though he acts brave, he is still a child. And the fear and loneliness of being in a strange place were all too familiar to Havis. "You little brat, so you're hiding here?" Robbers suddenly appeared. "Do you have any idea how hard we tried to find you?" they said, coming closer and closer. Wally was horrified because they threatened to take revenge for all the inconvenience that he caused them. "Who else are you?" One of them asked Havis. "I will spare your life if you retreat now." The hero calmly warned the impudent one. "Ha! You don't seem to know about the Black Tiger Fortress." The robbers laughed. "Don't poke your nose into our affairs and get lost." They shouted and rushed to attack. Wally had already said goodbye to life. Curled up in a ball, he even began to scream in panic. "Master, forgive me! It's because of me!" the boy shouted with his eyes closed. And then suddenly I realized that nothing was happening because he was intact and no one was touching him. Havis stood in front of them and was very serious. The boy could not believe his eyes like everyone else who saw Havis in battle. It was a warm evening the next day. The heartbroken father tried to find a way out of the situation and save his son. He kept thinking about little Wally, how scared he was in captivity there now. A picture of the kidnapping of a boy who had so hoped for salvation surfaced in his mind. At the mere thought of his torment, the man began to cry, tormenting himself for his weakness and inability to help the child. "Dad!" the boy suddenly shouted. But the distressed father, in tears, thought that he was imagining things. But it was real. The son was reunited with his father, hugging him tightly. The man could not find words for gratitude and did not even know how he could repay for this. Havis tried to tell him that he saw the boy off only because they were on their way. But the joyful father did not even listen to him, only thanked him and invited him to the table. The table was set as if for a holiday. The alluring aroma of delicious dishes beckoned. But the boy was embarrassed by the presence of another gentleman at the table. But his father explained to him that he hired this man to save him. He was a master from the Union of Justice. "But I didn't expect you to return before the master left." "Heaven heard my prayers," he said in tears, hugging his son with all his might. Havis was confused that this gentleman was from the Union of Justice, and the master, in turn, slammed his glass on the table, wanting to attract the attention of those gathered. "I can't believe that you entrusted such an important task to this ragamuffin." "Did you want to humiliate me with this?" shouted Master Richard. "Sir, it was an accident. I did not hire him. I understand the journey you have come, and as a thank you for responding to help, you will have the promised money. And before you leave, please, I ask you to stay with us for a few days and relax." Wally's father spoke politely. As soon as Richard heard that he would be paid, he immediately calmed down. The man decided to apologize to his son's savior, who was about to leave. "Stay and eat with us, I beg you," he said to the hero, realizing that the words of the old master could hurt him. Heavy politely declined the offer. The owner of the house wanted to say something else, but little Wally interrupted him, wanting to independently show the savior everything on their sight. The father saw no obstacles in his son taking care of the guest. "I am sorry that you had to hear such words addressed to you," the boy said guiltily. Heavy seemed indifferent to this. Wall believed that his savior did not deserve such treatment. The boy appreciated everything Havis did for him. Therefore, he apologized for the discomfort caused. "It's okay. I didn't do it to attract attention," Heavy answered with a smile. Their conversation was interrupted by some strange sounds. They became wary and looked for the cause of the commotion with their eyes. These were people from the Black Tiger Fortress who had come here a very long way. They were very angry that their main income, the boy's father-in-law, was taken away from them. In addition, they killed their people in the forest. The vice leader of the Black Tigers demanded that the one who killed his people in the forest come out. He wanted to fight him one-on-one. His strength and power swept away all the servants of the court. Wally's father asked the deputy leader what he wanted here. "Ha! Did you think you would be safe if you hooked our people?" "You are in vain," Marcus answered. Before he could finish speaking, Master Richard rushed into the attack. He is confident in the union of justice, and not in bandits like you. "I'll show you your place now," said old Richard. "Oh, how? So the head invited a representative of the Justice Union? Well, it will even be very interesting for me to kill you," Mark said with a grin. "Hammy, as much as you want, I'm grateful that you came here yourself, and I didn't have to trail you such a distance. For this, I promise that your death will be painless," Richard answered. Marcus just laughed at the formidable old man. "Let's see what you're capable of, old stump," the vice leader joked. The old master did not accept such humor. After all, he considered the bandit too arrogant and self-confident. Mark easily repelled Richard's attacks. By ridiculing the level of abilities of the Justice Union, he gave the master heat. Mark closed in with all his might. Even stray dogs would laugh at you. He attacked him. Master Richard suddenly realized something for himself. Marcus was far from a simple bandit. His mastery of combat techniques spoke about this. The master of the Union of Justice did not have time to fight back. Everyone around watched this battle with bated breath. Richard thought with horror, if this impudent man is so strong, then what is the skill of his leader? There was no time for thought. Because two worlds collided, justice and lawlessness, everyone tried to defend their position. Although Richard was an exceptional martial artist, he was lagging behind in terms of internal energy. If he doesn't get his act together, he may suffer a total collapse. Wally began to worry about him, so he asked Havis to help the master. "There is no need to interfere. This is not a battle for a beggar who has a couple of pretentious tricks." The old master snorted proudly. "You heard him?" The hero calmly answered the boy. Marcus praised Richard for having such a fighting spirit, but he could not help but notice that he had never fought before, finding himself on the brink of death. The old master did not understand what he was leading to. "We have always fought with all our might, no matter the cost, standing fiercely in battle," Marcus said. "Did you think I was just a thief and a bandit? Now you will understand how much you made a mistake," the vice leader added with a grin. Master Richard believed that the number of battles did not matter. "A bandit remains a bandit, and you don't dare look down on me," the old man shouted furiously, preparing for a special attack. Master Richard decided to show the impudent man such a martial art that he could only dream of. This was the dazzling technique of 10 fingers and 10 points. The old man's crushing force overtook Marcus with incredible speed. He tried to hold back this attack, but it was all in vain. How can such power come from an old man who has one foot in the grave? The vice leader thought to himself. In the end, the young man could not stand on his feet, and he was impressed by the wall. His get-ready got angry. They grouped together, forming a human shield, with the goal of protecting the vice leader. Master Richard certainly did not expect such teamwork from the bandits. After all, everything was thought out to the smallest detail. Every position, it involuntarily looked like an army of soldiers. These guys began to attack the old master from all sides. He realized that they are probably not as simple as they seem. After all, bandits do not have such organization. Heavy already roughly understood who they were. Although Richard tried to fight back with all his might, his leg was still wounded. Suddenly, one of the warriors of the Black Tiger Fortress decided to strike from behind, taking the old master by surprise. Bandits who used tactics. Havis grabbed him by the throat. Richard could not understand how the hero managed to react so quickly, and Wally's father didn't notice any movement at all, so he was also discouraged. Despite the boy's joy, his father still did not fully believe that Havis would be able to help. A beaten robber lay on the ground, clearly threatening our hero. He took out a knife and threw it at Heavy's chest. Wally wanted to warn his savior, but there was no need. Havis used a technique that redirected this knife straight to the thief's shoulder. Marcus couldn't believe that anyone had such techniques. Therefore, he was confused, not understanding who was in front of him. "What are you doing, idiots? Don't stand there! Kill him!" shouted the vice leader. The soldiers unconditionally prepared to carry out the order. Havis pondered that the techniques of these people were not similar to those used by the people of Muram. They were more like the techniques of a well-trained army. This prompted the hero to be convinced of his guesses about the origin of these people. While they were all trying to kill him, Havis disappeared from their sight. Everyone tried to understand where he had gone, looking around. Like a ghost, he hovered above their heads, preparing to attack. When they saw him, it was too late, because the hero had already used the technique, which, at the speed of light, crushed everyone who wanted to harm him. It is very rare to see such a technique with your own eyes. After all, he used a prohibited technique. The soldiers were at a loss and did not know what to do. "Who is he? Come to your senses?" Marcus shouted. "Don't fall for his tricks. It's just a forbidden technique." He tried to cheer up the soldiers. He ordered them to regroup and attack together. The soldiers accepted the order and carried out it, running with all their might towards the enemy. Havis was insulted to hear that his work of martial art was called a forbidden technique and that his capabilities were underestimated. He decided to show them the demon's true style. The hero used the rupture zone suppression technique, and when he added myriads of shadows, everyone was in a stupor of horror and admiration. The ominous, shadowy hands of darkness easily wrapped themselves around the robbers, not giving them a chance to escape. A moment later, they were already trapped, and only Havis, like a puppeteer, could determine whether they should live or not. The hands of darkness wrapped themselves around the victims and rose above them, and then they bit into their faces, as if preparing to suck all the life energy out of them. Havis directed this performance. He determined what the hands of darkness should do now. With one movement, he made his technique work. All that could be heard everywhere were cries for help. In an instant, a large number of people wanting to attack Havis were neutralized. Master Richard could not believe that there was a person with such incredible abilities in the world. He is clearly not to be looked down upon. Marcus also fell into a stupor for a second. He couldn't understand what the hell this was all about. Wall's father, like the others, saw something like this for the first time. Havis, like the Angel of Death, was capable of much if faced with him in battle. Although Marcus was a little afraid of such an enemy, he still decided not to stand still. He considered his techniques to be just tricks. This was his huge mistake. "I will send you to hell!" the vice leader shouted, intending to strike. For a moment it seemed to him that he had achieved his goal and defeated the enemy. But this was not so. There was an illusion before him, which instantly dissipated upon contact. As soon as the bandit realized this, it was already too late, because the hands of darkness had reached him. Like the spirit of a demon, Havis passed through the guy's chest, gaining total control over him. It was incredibly spectacular and terrible at the same time. Having completed this technique, the hero began to regain his human likeness. Marcus's whole life passed before his eyes, and it seemed that it was about to end. The soldiers were worried that something was wrong with him. After all, they saw how he fell to his knees, losing energy. That's why they began to panic. "What did you do with the vice leader?" the remaining soldiers asked with fear and anger. Marcus suddenly realized that he had been too self-confident with him. Falling from his knees face down to the ground, he only had time to think about one thing. What is possible just fought from the god of death himself. The vice leader tried with all his might to reach his weapon, but with horror he noticed how the hands of darkness were again striving for him. When they had already grabbed his leg, he suddenly shouted, "Wait! We will give up. Please stop!" The young man desperately tried to save his life. "We will leave immediately, honestly." He was already panicking. "I want to meet your leader." Havis addressed him using the hidden voice technique. "What did you say?" Marcus could not believe such a request. "All you have to do is take me to your leader." The hero repeated the hidden voice technique. The soldiers helped their vice leader stand up and bring him to his senses. "Do you dare to meet our leader?" "Yes, he will crush you in an instant," Marcus said loudly. The warriors were a little shocked by his words. After all, they did not hear anyone address him. Marcus was indignant, saying he asked, and I answered. The soldiers looked at him with big eyes, because Havis was silent all the time. Others do not hear what I say. The hero again addressed the young man through the technology. The vice leader realized what was happening. He realized that this man can make sure that only those who need him hear him. This technique can be used by units. It is called sound transmission. All you have to do is lead me to your leader, and who lives or dies is none of your business, Havis said again hiddenly. Marcus realized that he was much more experienced than expected, and the degree of his strength was beyond the understanding of even the young man. Since the vice leader could not win in this situation, he decided to agree to the request to organize a meeting with the leader. Okay, I'll take you to him, Mark said, breathing heavily. Havis was satisfied with this answer. Master, will you really go with them? Wall's father asked with concern in his voice. There is something I should ask them about. Perhaps it has something to do with my past, answered the hero. Everyone was wary because this meant that the incredible master was connected with bandits. But Havis had to check this, because he had previously noticed one very important clue. Old Richard suggested that this craftsman has past connections with bandits who wear protective equipment that is only used in the army. The very fact of the appearance of such a secretive expert in Murim is already a great threat to the Union of Justice. He considered it his duty to sniff out everything and report to his superiors. Wait, he turned to the hero. I'll go too, because I won't be able to live in peace if I don't see their leader. The master of the Justice Union said confidently. Do what you want, I don't care. Havis answered calmly. The moon and torches of fire illuminated their path to their goal. The vice leader with his warriors led this excursion. Havis stomped behind, following them and controlling the situation. Vice leader, are we really going to just go back to the leader? Asked one of the warriors. He was embarrassed by the fact that they could not bring the boy back. And besides, they were leading strangers. Therefore, the thought crept in that the leader would be very angry. Marcus interrupted him by covering his mouth with his hand. But haven't you seen what he is capable of? We should generally be grateful that we are not yet in hell, the vice leader quietly told him. I have an idea, so shut up for now, the young man added, releasing the warrior's lips. He thought that only together with the entire army and leader would it be possible to defeat this eccentric. Marcus was sure that he was luring victims into the tiger's den, and this thought warmed him. Their black tiger fortress was already visible. The vice leader confirmed the fact that they are already in place, and with a grin he hoped that Havis would die here. Stop! Who's there? The guard who was dozing realized. Didn't you wake up? It's me, vice leader, said Marcus. The guards immediately stood at attention and apologized. Marcus told the guard that he intended to meet the leader, despite the late hour. He asked to tell the leader that he had an urgent message for him and brought a guest. Also winked, hinting at something. The guards were wary because this was a code word that meant that there would be a massacre. But still, they were wondering what kind of guest this was. The heavy gate made of beams opened. The vice leader and guests went inside. Suddenly, Marcus ran forward. Havis realized that something was about to happen. Let's go, shouted the vice leader. People began to come running from all sides. Welcome to the Black Tiger Fortress! Bandits surrounded them. But the hero was ready for this, because he realized that Marcus, while talking with the guards, gave them a secret signal. You naive fool, serves you right. The vice leader amused himself like a child, but Havis did not expect more from him. Marcus said he brought an important guest? Said the leader of the fortress, Philip. He came out of his lair and looked at everyone from above. In this case, we must show them the utmost care and hospitality, said the leader of the Black Tiger Fortress of the bloodthirsty battle. The demon Phil also spoke to him. I find it hard to believe that Marcus could not defeat such an opponent. Curiosity is driving me crazy, said leader Phil. He couldn't wait to look at the face of this master. Are you the one who had the audacity to threaten my vice leader and invade this place? He turned to Havis. Marcus wanted to bring the leader up to date, so he reported that this man had stolen the boy from whom they lived and killed their people. No one was killed. Tomorrow everyone will be in service. I just neutralized them for a while, Heavy said calmly. Anu, shut up, and don't interfere in our conversation with the leader. Mark believed in himself. I see you are not particularly nervous on my territory, said Philip. I knew where I was going and understood who you were. Havis answered. He began the story that when the Great Demon War reached its peak, dealing with the people of Murim who were skilled in martial arts was difficult. They were powerful and capable of anything. However, when several soldiers who are not proficient in martial arts work together, they can still use battle formations. And with these formidable formations, the people of Murim, no matter how skilled they are, can be conquered. Master Richard began to understand what he was leading to. Havis continued talking. If this is the case, even Muriman knows the basics of breaking formation, so it is difficult to achieve significant changes in actual combat operations, even if it is a formation trained to deal with Murim. Like the formations used by martial artists from the Cheonil Plain, Marcus and Richard tensed at his words. The old master recalled that it was on the Cheonil Plain that the Great Demon War took place 10 years ago. So he immediately realized what was what. These are soldiers who deserted from the Union of Justice. It finally dawned on Richard. The leader of the fortress sighed heavily. You are stupid lackeys of the Union of Justice. It seems you are asking for death. Philip got angry. How did you find out about us? And who are you, after all? He asked Havis. If you were a soldier of the Justice Union, you must have heard about my squad, said the hero. This is a special unit of the Justice Union. Specifically, the Special Detachment Black Bull, he added. Phil's eyes darkened from such information. If you're talking about the Black Bull, then I'm sure their captain died 10 years ago, and the unit was disbanded, said the leader of the fortress. Havis looked him straight in the eyes, expecting to hear more of the necessary information, and suddenly Philip remembered him. It was so long ago, but he remembered this young man who fought valiantly on the battlefield. Old Richard also recalled this division. It was created by one of the students of the leader of the Justice Union 10 years ago. Rumor has it that they were destroyed in an operation 10 years ago. Richard believed that if this was true, then he should report everything to his superiors. I did not expect to meet a ghost of the past here, said Phil. Do you know me? Asked the hero. He only said with sad nostalgia that he knew. After all, 10 years ago, he was in the Forbidden Demon Palace. Havis seemed to be furious. He demanded more information. Ha! Well, make me tell you everything, the leader said with a grin. He gave orders to his men to bring something. It was some kind of very heavy chest. The chest was attached to the villa's back. This was the box of the commander of 100 soldiers, a powerful device. It contained more than 100 weapons of various types. There was everything there. Swords, knives, spears. They even say there were bows and arrows there. Philip has not used this since he came here, so as not to reveal his identity. Marcus noticed that even his boss was getting serious. It scared him. Philip did not know how the hero managed to reach them, whether it was on purpose or not. But he confronted Havis with the fact that he would not be able to return alive. Are you ready to die? The leader of the fortress asked his old acquaintance, who appeared before him in the role of an enemy. All people supported their leader, hoping for his secret weapon and strength. Richard was surprised that Phil was holding a spear on his right and a sword on his left. This was unusual for Murim. The leader decided to attack in a jump. He twirled the spear in his hands, as if it were not a weapon, but a toy. The spear was aimed at vital points. The sword is incredibly furious, as if releasing two raging streams. The spectacle was reminiscent of two techniques of the best experts working in tandem. However, Havis's footwork was amazing and much faster. His movements in the dark resembled a ghost. I see you only know how to dodge? Phil asked in a provoking tone. Havis decided to show him the true demon by using his merciless technique. The hero easily repelled the vaunted blows of the leader of the fortress. With a calm face, he seemed to be one step ahead of the enemy. Philip realized that Havis could predict his every action, although the leader had no idea where he could learn this. But he believed that the enemy would not be able to dodge forever. Havis swung with all his might, seizing the moment when Philip will attack. And he hit the sword with all his might. The sword shattered into small pieces. Heavy, like a whirlwind, gained momentum in the air. And he delivered another powerful blow, but this time to the leader himself. They are like titans. They amazed with their durability and strength. Phil detached his box from his back and aimed it at the hero. Havis caught this moment and got ready. He unleashed his true demon style. A secret box of weapons shattered into pieces, scattering all the contents. The hero's hands of darkness grabbed all the weapons that the leader of the fortress kept in his box. With all these weapons, Havis headed to the attack. Philip clearly did not expect this. The agile ghost of his past pointed all the weapons right at his face. By twirling his spear above his head, Philip hoped to avoid this invasion. He immediately rushed to resign his honor. These two rushed towards each other, wanting to gain the upper hand. Master Richard could not believe his eyes. After all, Havis effortlessly destroyed all the techniques of the leader of the fortress. Flying in the air, the hero swung, trying to give a more brilliant effect to his technique. And now, swords, knives, and everything else inevitably flew towards Philip. He tried his best to fight back, but still I missed something. The leader of the fortress fell, holding his sore spot, and the hero easily landed next to him. Box of hundreds of soldiers, Heavy suddenly said. I wondered where I had heard about this before, and realized that we were talking about 100 Phil soldiers, said the hero. It turned out that earlier, despite his low social status, Philip was hired by the Justice Union and became well known on the battlefield in the Cheonil Plain. Where there were thousands of martial artists, he attracted the attention of the Justice Union only due to his exceptional skill. At first, he was considered a simpleton, but his demonstration of techniques caught their attention. Philip, who wielded 100 weapons like his own limbs and dominated the battlefield. It was rumored that even the Heavenly Demon Coalition thought highly of him. Master Richard remembered that he had heard about this before, the story of a lone warrior who took part in the war 10 years ago. Are you saying that this is the bloodthirsty fighting demon Philip? Richard clarified, trying to assemble the puzzle. This is how it appears my identity has been revealed, said the leader. This was a serious matter, so he had no other choice, except to take their lives in order to avoid information leakage. I've seen enough of your skill. Phil grabbed the weapon again. It's been a while since I stretched my bones. He laughed. Havis was also ready for another fight. Phil decided to show why it used to be called the Army of 100 Soldiers. With a huge sword, he dealt crushing blows, but alas, missed. Havis could intercept an attack with a cold weapon with his bare hands. His power turned even the most powerful blade into trash. Philip, on the move, replaced his sword with a spear and dodged. Two veterans of a terrible war had no intention of losing this battle. The leader of the fortress tried to deliver a fatal blow, but at that moment the hero took a deep breath and swung. He hit the enemy precisely, as if at gunpoint, pinning him to the ground. But Phil was not going to give up. So he grabbed a crossbow and tried to buy time for a retaliatory attack. Havis simply waited, watching his actions, like a hunter and a doe. Go back to hell! Philip shouted, aiming his crossbow at the enemy. The arrow flew quickly and accurately. It seemed that he could not get away from it. Come up with something more original, Heavy said calmly, intercepting the arrow with his hand. Philip sadly threw away the crossbow, realizing that it did not work. The attack options were nearing completion, so the leader of the fortress decided to fight with what he wielded most skillfully. But Heavy cleverly intercepted this too, not giving the enemy a chance. Grabbing Phil's spear, the hero struck him powerfully in the stomach, and then he threw it a couple of meters forward. Philip fell mixed with stones and dust. Let's stop there, the hero suggested, seeing that his opponent's vitality was running out. But at that moment, a huge chain flew out of the soot of dust. The chain wrapped around Havis's hands, blocking his movements. Arrogant scoundrel! I won't give in to you! Philip coughed, but tried to stay on his feet. Now we're going to have some fun, he added. The leader was sure that now his enemy would not be able to dodge. Havis grabbed the chain into his own hands and was still able to stab Phil, after which he untwisted the chain and threw away the leader, like a fishing rod with bait. But still the bloodthirsty fighting demon was able to stay on his feet. Do you intend to continue? The hero clarified once again. I'm fed up with brats like you, Philip shouted. He reached his peak of anger, so he decided to use the true demon style. Havis reacted calmly to this because he was above it. The hero resorted to the technique of single suppression. When the leader's sickle approached the place where Heavy stood, he was no longer there. Having risen above the leader of the fortress, he added the wolf fang technique. With just one touch, Heavy made Philip understand a lot. For example, that the world is much larger than he thought, that there are those who cannot be compared, that there is an absolute master. The leader of the fortress was on his knees, trying in horror to understand who was in front of him. Is this a man or a ghost? Mark, trying to help his leader, gave the order to the soldiers to attack. But Philip stopped them. The soldiers were confused. I lost and accept it, the leader said quietly. Marcus suddenly became scared, because he could not imagine a person stronger than Philip. He was tormented by only one question. How did Havis manage to gain such power? Silence fell on the territory of the Black Tiger Fortress. Havis was given the leadership throne. Marcus, bowing, could not understand how it had come to this. You said that you were near the Forbidden Palace of Demons that day. I want to know what happened after my squad left the cave, said the hero. Well, since I couldn't avoid it all my life, Perhaps it would be better to tell you who was directly involved in it. Philip exhaled heavily. The leader began to remember with pain and tell everything that happened. As on the night after the explosion on Mount Killian, Cornelius sent their squad on another mission. The goal was to kill everyone. Richard rebelled, saying that this was all a lie and the Union of Justice was not capable of such a thing. He believed that their actions were aimed only at the righteous path. It could not be otherwise. Philip refuted his indignation, citing the fact that the old man had never been to the Cheonol Plain. You never even dirty your hands. You only know how to tell stories. If the Union of Justice is as beautiful and sinless as you say, then I am a forest fairy. Philip replied angrily. Why did he need to attack your detachment? Asked Havis. To get rid of witnesses and keep us silent? This is obvious. The leader of the fortress answered sadly. After all, they tried to bury the leader of the Black Bulls, Oliver, and a member of his squad alive. This is an unforgivable act, and if the public knew about this, there would be a storm of serious condemnation. To Cornelius, they were simply hunting dogs that could be thrown away at any time. He didn't want to create unnecessary difficulties for himself. Philip managed to escape with several of his men. He knew that he would be persecuted, but it was better than dying a dog's death. But it didn't end there, because right after that, something unexpected happened. After the incident with the Forbidden Demon Palace, the two forces entered into some kind of secret agreement. The Justice Alliance and the Heavenly Demon Coalition ended the Great Demon War as if it never happened. Havis found it strange that the two warring clans were so quickly reconciled. But if the war really is over, then the idea is that deserters no longer need to hide. So why are you still hiding and creating this fortress for the Black Tiger bandits? Asked Havis. Because they are still hunting us, Philip answered. The leader of the fortress sadly said that after the end of the war, the hunt for them even intensified. It happened that the Alliance of Justice and the coalition of heavenly demons united against them. Havis could not believe what he was hearing, because it was complete chaos. But the leader of the fortress only quietly nodded his head, confirming his words. We fought off our pursuers with all our might and got here. I just wanted to live, and there was no longer a place in the world where we could exist, except for this fortress. Phil said. After seeing her, he realized that here they would be able to find peace, and they could stop constantly looking around. What happened to the other members of the Black Bull? The hero continued to ask. I don't know this. Apart from the fact that they were attacked by Cornelius's men, nothing else is known, answered the leader of the fortress. Havis was very upset, because he hoped that he would make at least a little progress in the search for his missing comrades. What are you going to do to us now? What is our future fate? Philip clarified alarmingly. Havis said that if they continue to play bandits, the Justice Union will still find out about their existence. But this was the only way for the Black Tigers to survive. After all, this was the only way they could feed themselves. Havis thought for a moment and suggested something. The leader of the fortress was shocked by his proposal, but accepted everything he offered. Workers were bustling around at the Wu family residence, trying to repair traces of the recent showdown. Father and son froze at what they saw. They did not understand what was happening. In front of them stood the leader of the Black Tiger Fortress, with his entire staff and Havis. Philip's appearance was frightening and ominous. It is not strange that they were very frightened. The leader extended his hands forward. The Wu family was already preparing for the worst. But Phil had no bad intentions. He folded his hands in front of him and bowed. I sincerely apologize for any inconvenience I have caused you, said the leader of the fortress. Black Tiger Fortress agreed to no longer pose a threat to the Wu family. Havis said and put his hand on the leader's shoulder. But, in return, he asked to provide them with enough food so that they could survive the winter. Patriarch Wu did not see this as a problem. He agreed to give them full support. Havis insisted that this matter be settled quietly, without unnecessary attention. When the food was cooked, he asked that a fire be lit at the foot of the mountain, so that the people of the Black Tiger Fortress would come and take it away. Patriarch Wu is now practically one of us. If someone threatens you, just tell me. I will destroy everyone who gets in your way, Philip shouted joyfully. Wall's father was a little frightened by such care, but it was still pleasant. Who do you think you are? You don't dare even think about this, let alone do it. I will definitely tell my boss everything. Master Richard was indignant. Havis addressed him with the technique of hidden thought. If you report me to the Union of Justice, then I will not remain in place. You will regret it immediately. This was his secret mental message. His appearance was very impressive, so Master Richard trembled just at the thought of what this strongest young man could do to him. I am in your debt. I would like to thank you, so if there is anything I can do for you, just tell me. The leader of the fortress bowed to Havis. I know that you want to go to the area of the Union of Justice. To get there, you need to cross the border between the coalition of heavenly demons and the alliance of justice. Even though the war is over and the border ban has been lifted, crossing the border as an unknown person is extremely dangerous, Philip explained. Havis asked what should be done in such cases. To get there, you must go through the ant cave. Hoffer, he answered. Philip, patting Marcus on the shoulder, said that this guy comes from the ant cave, so if you take him with you, it will be much easier to pass through it. Marcus was shocked by such words, because he did not expect that the leader would put him in such an awkward position. Do you want to send me with him? I don't want to be his guide. The young man was indignant. Have you forgotten why I ran away from there? I'm not going anywhere. You can kill me, but I won't go, Marcus shouted. The leader of the fortress grabbed the guy by the neck and whispered that Havis must really need support, because he had gone through so much and it would be better to agree to make concessions to him. Marcus almost lost consciousness from Philip's intimidating tone and pressure. He is a capricious boy, and at times stubborn to the point of horror. But his soul is bright. You just need to get used to it. Maybe you'll even become friends. Keep an eye on him, please. The leader of the fortress said with a sweet smile, holding Heavy's hand. Master Havis, you have done so much for us. They saved their son, took care of the black tigers. You are a wonderful person. How can I thank you for all this? Patriarch Wu bowed and asked, It's okay. I'm glad I was able to help you. I did this not for profit, but for pure reasons. The hero smiled at him. Although Wall's father did not want to let him go so soon, our hero nevertheless decided to hit the road immediately. After all, I had already spent 2 days in this place. I didn't even notice how quickly they passed. Suddenly, little Wally stopped him, grabbing his hand. Do you really want to leave so quickly? The boy asked with longing in his voice. Havis explained to him that it was time to go, because people were waiting for him. If you want to meet me, you can find me in Pekriju once the Wu family's territory is stabilized, said the hero, stroking the boy goodbye. Although his hometown was little known, everyone would soon know about it. Havis and Marcus set off. Everyone waved after them, wishing them a good journey and good luck. A carrier pigeon flew over the territory of the Union of Justice, losing its feathers. He arrived at the address, delivering an important message. The contents of the letter were as follows. The secret cloud pavilion will begin its work with Operation Wall of Despair. It seems that success is inevitable if this person takes action. Despite the difficulties, after 16 years of perseverance, thought the leader of the Union of Justice, Manuel. Union leader, I heard that the young master has obtained an ancient red jade cauldron and is on his way back. There was also an attempt on his life by hired killers, said Assistant Maurice. Maurice offered to intervene and help the young master, but Manuel thought otherwise. If Damir wants to be his student, he must comply and overcome such things on his own. Are there any other reports? The leader of the Union asked in a half-turn. There is also Daniel, the personal disciple of Blue Moon Pavilion head Harold, who was killed when he tried to steal an ancient red jade cauldron. The assistant reported. Manuel was sure that Daniel was not the only one who had his sights set on the ancient cauldron. Therefore, he asked who exactly was responsible for his death. The investigation is still underway, but according to witnesses, Daniel was killed with one blow, or rather, even with a touch, said Maurice. Manuel was surprised that he died in this way, because he was considered a highly valued disciple of the Blue Moon Pavilion. The assistant added that the head of the Blue Moon Pavilion himself personally went in search of the one who killed his disciple. The leader of the Justice Alliance did not expect that there was only one killer. He suddenly realized that a new force had appeared that had to be unraveled and found it funny. But still he ordered to keep everything under control and report the slightest news about this man. Maurice obediently accepted his master's instructions. At the same time, Cornelius and his deputy rode on horseback, leading their carriage. He rejoiced loudly that the construction, which had been going on for years, was finally finished. Siren could not believe her eyes because she had only read about this wall of despair in reports. But she could not even imagine its scale. A castle of this size could withstand the onslaught of tens of thousands of soldiers. Mister, what if the leader of the Union of Justice finds out that you secretly built this? Cyrena got nervous. The master will not know. If he really understood the value of this castle, he would have shown interest in it long ago. But in my opinion, he has never come here in the last 16 years. Cornelius calmly answered her. If he had personally seen this castle, he would not have given me so much power, he added. Everyone greeted the Lord's crew with bows and honors. Oh my God, the head of the pavilion. I'm glad to see you here. You must be very tired on this long journey. A man hurried with pleasantries. Cornelius did not immediately understand who it was, but Cyrena reminded him that this was the headman of the village of Pekriju, Louis. She also added that his son Charlie serves as the commander of the Cloud Sword Squad in the Justice Alliance. Cornelius began to remember at least something about this detachment, and he remembered that 10 years ago it was Charlie who reported to him about the Forbidden Palace of Demons. While Cornelius was lost in memories, Louis was sucking up with all his might. The head of the pavilion laughed and patted the man on the shoulder. You do a good job. If you continue in the same spirit, you are guaranteed a prosperous and honorable life, he said. Louis bowed and thanked him for such words. And ordinary people from this village said that he was a filthy pig and a suck-up. They were disgusted to look at it. At this moment, the crowd was pushed aside by a girl who was trying to get to Cornelius. Hey, you are the head of the secret cloud pavilion, aren't you? She shouted, emerging from the pandemonium. Finally, you have appeared. This girl was Arya, Havis's sister. The guards became wary and persistently asked her to leave. Louis already knew that there would be a scandal, so he panicked. I spent 16 years building this damned castle. 16 years of imprisonment and hellish work. Now you have to tell me where my brother is? She shouted through the guards, wanting to achieve justice. Cornelius thought, scratching his beard. Why should I know anything about your brother? He asked coldly. Don't pretend. 16 years ago, you took my brother to fight and killed my father before my eyes. Arya said with tears in her eyes, I have no idea what you're talking about. And does it matter? The head waved her away. Speak! The hero's sister broke through the guards. You said that you would return my brother when we finish building this castle. She grabbed him by the sleeve. Where is he? Arya asked desperately. The guards did not expect that she would be able to pass through them and even touch the head of the pavilion. In the anticipatory silence, the sound of a strong slap was heard. Louis hit the poor girl who needed justice so much. Crazy! Do you still dare to touch the head of the pavilion with your dirty hand? Said the fat sycophant. In an effort not to fall on his face in front of his superiors, he ordered this impudent, in his words, girl to be immediately taken away. She resisted because she had not yet said everything. Damn you! Do you even know how many people died and were injured just because they built this castle? The time will come and you will really regret it. You will pay for everything! Arya screamed as the guards took her away. Why is this woman asking me about her brother? Cornelius asked, brushing off his sleeve. Siren recalled that 16 years ago, he took the son of the headman of the village of Pekriju hostage. Cornelius remembered something like this, but without details. After all, he didn't care about anyone except himself. The weak are always trampled on. This is the law of nature. And make sure that there are no more such scenes with commoners in the future, said the head and moved on. Siren realized with horror that he really didn't care, since he so easily forgot all the grief that he brought to people. Are you in trouble? Do you want to die? Why did you arrange all this? Louis was indignant at the whole village. Arya escaped from his clutches, not wanting to listen to moral teachings. 16 years have passed since my brother was taken from me. I have the right to know what's wrong with him, she said with tears in her eyes. To do this, you need to win their trust and sympathy. They won't tell you anything just like that, explained the village headman. After everything they did to me in our village, should I smile and bow to hear news about my brother? Arya asked with anger in her eyes. Only you can live in slavery for your own benefit, she finally said. He clenched his fist angrily at such words because it is difficult to admit the truth. Louis exhaled, not wanting to listen to this. Forget about it. You're lonely. Think better about your future, because those who are alive must live, he said finally, leaving. Arya's tears fell on the grass. That day she firmly decided that she would never forgive or forget this. and in the coalition of heavenly demons, an important meeting of relatives took place. Diamond's sister Samantha arrived to visit him. The girl greeted her brother, the bishop, and bowed. "Ha! How long has it been since we last saw each other? Please have a seat," Diamond said, smiling. He praised her achievements in training, because after the end of the war, the girl isolated herself in the training room for practice for 10 years. "I was worried about you," said the Lord, but the girl was in no hurry to believe him. "Aren't you disappointed that I came back alive?" She rolled her eyes at his pleasantries. "You seem to still be offended by me for that incident 10 years ago." Diamond grinned. "Just tell me straight out why you called me here, without any digressions," the Jade Empress said indignantly. While the bishop was being poured tea, he said that recently suspicious movements had been noticed on the part of the Union of Justice. He called his sister because he needs someone who will investigate what happened. "Ooh, I thought you wouldn't stoop to the level of a spy rat, but it looks like you're sinking lower and lower. Congratulations," Samantha joked. The bishop's mood sharply worsened after such words. "Listen to me carefully. We have recently learned of serious unrest in the area of Mount Killian." Diamond continued to say, knowing that his sister would be interested in this. After all, what once happened there hit her hard, and the bishop cleverly took advantage of it. After all, Samantha immediately loses her composure when this mountain is mentioned to her. Black Bull, remembering this detachment, images of the bloody Great War immediately come to mind. They were a constant thorn in the side of the Heavenly Demon Coalition. Vladika himself did not expect that he would have to remember them again. Diamond immediately noticed that Samantha immediately went looking for each of them after the battle that day. According to the report, on that day in the Palace of the Forbidden Demons, the master of the Iron Sword sect, Stefan, entered into a fierce battle with the leader of the Black Bull squad, Oliver. Cornelius then arrived with other Justice Alliance soldiers, who destroyed the entrance to the Forbidden Demon Palace and tried to arrest Oliver's subordinates. The members of the Black Bull squad fled in all directions. However, there was one person who stayed and fought against Samantha. Until now, there was no information about him. He was considered dead. Diamond was sure his sister would like to find this guy. In the vicinity of Mount Killian, not far from the Forbidden Palace of Demons, a great master appeared. "And you won't rest until you check it yourself, am I right?" Diamond smiled sarcastically. In short, the warriors of the Union of Justice gathered there to steal something, when suddenly an unknown master tamed everyone and disappeared. And since this is the territory of the Heavenly Demon Coalition, I can't just sit still. The bishop continued to speak. Plus, Mount Killian is located not far from the Forbidden Palace of Demons. "Is something bothering you, little sister?" Diamond pressed the patient. He also reported that this master arrived at the Fallen Dragon Port and headed to the ant cave in Sunyang. "Do you want to send me to the anthill?" Samantha stood up abruptly, but Diamond mockingly told her not to forget to come to their branch when she arrived in Seonyang. Referring to the fact that they will help her, Diamond was pleased with himself and that he had pissed off his sister. "There was not a trace of cuteness left on my sister's face," he said with a grin. "But compared to her, you have made no progress," noted the three-brained sage Christian. But the ruler did not believe that everything could be achieved only through martial arts. After all, during this time, Samantha never created her own faction, so he wasn't worried. He ordered the advisor to keep an eye on the Jade Empress because he wanted the master to manifest himself. Diamond wanted to end the tedious game of hide and seek. The wind was blowing leaves when Samantha left the ruler's residence. She couldn't believe that 10 years had passed so quickly. Although Havis was crushed in the depths of the Forbidden Palace of Demons, the girl still harbored hope. Something inside told her that he was still alive.
Our hero and Marcus were sitting near the fire on the way to the goal.
"Even though my leader asked me to be your guide and treat you well, I still hate you." "You are nothing to me," Marcus said, chewing dinner. "Only a winner can speak such words." Heavy answered calmly. "What did you say?" "Yes, if it weren't for the forbidden techniques, I would have killed you with one finger." The vice leader of the fortress angrily waved his cutlet. Havis did not listen to his chatter. He thought that after so many years he could finally return home. But instead of joy, he had fear. He was afraid not to find his father and sister alive. "Why are you ignoring me?" Marcus was indignant. Suddenly, the hero noticed some movement. At that moment, a knife flew near Mark's head, stopping in the tree behind him. "What? Who dared to attack me?" He was spinning around like a guy. "So we found you," said the man who made a warning throw with a knife. It was Harold who came to avenge his student. Head of the pavilion, this is him. The one who defeated the Black Tiger Fortress that attacked the Wu family patriarch. Master Richard whispered in his ear. Marcus guessed that the old man would immediately run to report everything to his superiors, but did not expect it so soon. Ha! You are all non-entities, deserters and traitors to the Union of Justice. Did you really think that I would let you go? Richard shouted. Stupid old man, Havis said calmly, without changing his position. The one who killed my disciple and stole the ancient red jade cauldron I heard landed at the port of the fallen dragon. Harold said, coming closer. Are you the one who killed my student? Answer, scoundrel, he asked angrily. Havis replied that he never killed unless necessary. But every word of the hero infuriated the head of the Blue Moon Pavilion more and more. How dare you say such nonsense? The master said, waving his sword. While he was waving his sword and threatening, Havis used an illusion technique. So Harold thought he cut the guy's head off. God, I killed this charlatan with the tip of a sword. Harold was confident of his victory. He was already calmly laying down his arms and ordered his men to remove the second bandit. Suddenly, Havis appeared from the darkness, wanting to show the master his strength. His hand of darkness was already close, and Harold even panicked for a minute. The master tried to fight off the hands of the darkness of Havis with a sword, but it didn't work. Harold was simply thrown back. I am Harold, head of the Justice Alliance's Blue Moon Pavilion. How dare you attack me? He shouted, hiding behind the guards. If even half of our troops become your enemies, then you will not be able to survive, added the head of the pavilion. I've heard this before somewhere. I believe your apprentice was on a ship at the port of the Fallen Dragon. There are similarities between you. The hero infuriated the master. You both talk a lot, but in reality, you can be killed without much effort. Havis mocked. The hero had already activated his energy flows and was ready for battle, but he deliberately egged on the master in order to lure him out from behind the warriors. His destructive power made you think 10 times before engaging in battle with him. Neither the warriors nor Master Harold expected to see this. It was clear from the master's face that he was scared, but he decided to act. Your skill looks funny. You won't harm me with these tricks. The head of the pavilion tried to morally crush Havis's spirit.
Pride and pride did not give Harold the opportunity to understand that there is someone stronger and he needs to be respected and not angry.
He ordered his men to attack the hero instead of fighting honestly one-on-one. The soldiers did not dare to disobey, so they obeyed the order. They decided to surround Havis for attack efficiency. We also chose the strategy of attacking all together. It was stupid, and that was the end of their lives, because Havis activated the sinister hands of darkness. Ectoplasm from his hands of darkness poured straight onto the ground. She made her way to each of the warriors, slowly wrapping herself around them. At first, this substance was like a shapeless shadow that did not pose a danger. But suddenly, from this ectoplasm, hands of darkness began to appear, which grabbed their victims, not giving them a chance to escape. The warriors could only scream, and then with all their strength. Marcus sat near the fire and admired the strength of his new acquaintance. They looked like beaten dogs, and the vice leader of the Black Tiger Fortress found it amusing to watch others suffer from this technique. While Havis was running his puppet theater, Harold decided to intervene, like a rat on the sly. The head of the Blue Moon Pavilion cut off the hands of the hero's darkness and went to directly attack him. After waiting for the moment when Heavy was open, Harold decided to strike. He pierced him with a sword, hoping that he had the upper hand in this battle. I will not fall for your tricks, because you are dealing with a very strong master. Enjoying the victory, said the head of the Blue Moon Pavilion. You sacrifice your subordinates to create an opportunity for yourself. How can such a cowardly jackal bear the title of leader? Havis asked him. But I don't care because no one will hear the whining of the loser, Harold triumphed, continuing to cut the hero. So dignity doesn't matter as long as you win? Havis asked, watching as the head of the pavilion destroyed his clone. This is so typical of the Justice Union people. You are pathetic, added the hero, calmly leaning on the tree. Harold smelled of fear at that moment. He was sure he killed Heavy, but it was just an illusion that was fraught with a surprise. When it was destroyed, the hands of darkness were released, which had fettered the body of the victim. Only a coward would pull such tricks, Harold shouted as the hero's dark technique took possession of him. Maybe so, but no one will hear the whining of the loser. Havis responded with the same coin. Like all the other opponents of the hero, Harold, on the verge of life and death, realized that there is someone much stronger than pride and pride. Blue Moon Pavilion is the elite among the warriors of the Justice Alliance. It is hard to imagine that someone like Havis will be able to overcome them. Stop this technique now! Let me go and I will forgive you and deliver you from death. Otherwise, you will turn all members of the Justice Union into your enemies. Harold shouted in despair. Heavy had his pathetic soul in his hands. Only he could allow him to live. I don't care about the Union of Justice, said the hero, incinerating Harold's life. The head of the pavilion was writhing from the pain of agony that overwhelmed his body. His vitality left him, and he fell down like a stone. Neither Marcus nor everyone else could believe what they were seeing. The head of the Blue Moon Pavilion died quickly and pitifully. In fact, this is the end he deserved. Richard saw this and started running as fast as he could. Marcus noticed this and wanted to catch up with him to neutralize him, but Havis said to let the old man go. What? Are you crazy? If this old stump spreads this news, the whole Union of Justice will come for us. Do you understand this? Marcus was indignant. Well, good. Let them come. It will save me time looking for them one by one. The hero answered calmly. Mark screamed and was indignant because he didn't really want to fight with the entire Justice League, so he didn't appreciate Havis's self-confidence. It would still happen sooner or later, just some events are waiting in the wings. They continued their journey to the anthill. Marcus was silent and angry. The hero noticed the displeasure on the face of the accompanying person, so he decided to figure out what was going on. Aren't you going to talk to me the rest of the way? Asked Havis. Yes. I hate you. Because of you, we will all die. So I have no desire to talk to you. The vice leader of the fortress freaked out. This old man will bring many strong warriors to chase us? We're finished. We are doomed, and I am still so young and beautiful? He shouted. Everything was so good and friendly with us. If you had not intervened, then everything would have continued like this. Marcus was indignant, but you didn't take into account that if it weren't for me, you would have sold your trousers so as not to die of hunger. Havis answered him. Such words infuriated the guy even more. These childish whims had already begun to tire the hero. Marcus was sure that the vice leader of the Black Tiger Fortress should not suffer and endure reproaches like this, despite the fact that Havis was telling the truth. I heard that the Black Tiger Fortress kidnaps women and children and then sells them. This is true? Heavy asked him with contempt. Marcus was stunned by such rumors. It was even a little offensive to hear. After all, despite the fact that they are bandits, they have a concept of honor. They never killed innocent people following their principles. And principles are sacred. While Marcus was proud of his valor, Havis remembered kidnapping someone else's son for food, which did not seem to contradict their principles. Perhaps we are talking about women who came to us to start relationships with some guys in our mountain hideout. There are also those who brought their children. Most likely because of this, such rumors are spread. Marcus answered, after a long, great war with demons, those who have lost parents or loved ones are becoming fewer and fewer. Even though 10 years have passed since the end of the war, those who survived it will never be free from the consequences. Havis suggested that the Justice Alliance and the Heavenly Demon Coalition were unhappy that they could not absorb each other, so they accepted the idea of ending the war immediately. But this is difficult to understand. He asked if there was anyone who knew how the truce came about. It's so tiring to explain everything in detail, Marcus said, but still tried. According to rumors, the leader of the Justice Alliance and the Lord of the Heavenly Demon Coalition met and reached an agreement. It is also said that the Justice Alliance first proposed a truce because they were at a disadvantage during the war, but no one knows if this is true. Havis still had a hard time accepting the fact that hatred and war that had lasted for decades ended just like that, without any reason. But Marcus thought one thing was certain, that this world will not last long. Both groups quickly strengthened their forces during the truce. It is only a matter of time before the Great Demon War happens again. The hero thought about the guy's words because they made sense. Well, what's the matter? We're both going to die soon because of you, so it doesn't matter, said the vice leader of the fortress. The guys were almost there. From the top of the mountain, they could see Xionyang, and on the side there is a huge structure, very similar to an anthill, which is actually why it was called the Ant Cave. After the end of the Great Demon War, a slum area inhabited by refugees has emerged on the old battlefield in the northern region known as Xionyang. It was originally an underground city built during the Great War, with a large mountain range and tunnels dug to avoid armed pursuers. Over time, the criminals who lived in the slums turned them into a stronghold and began to take over the ant cave, an underground city. This place began to be used as a center of smuggling and a place to store wealth. And most importantly, the ant cave is the only way to freely move between the carefully guarded territories of the heavenly demons and the Justice Union. Having come a long way, they finally arrived at the slums. Nothing has changed since Marcus was last there. Havis asked if he should have passed through such a place to get to Packridge, because the slums were disgusting at first glance. But Marcus was sure that this was really the shortest way, because killing all the guards of the Heavenly Coalition on the border was not the best idea. Look, if you want to get to Packridge, this is really the fastest way. If you avoid the Justice Alliance, the Heavenly Demon Coalition, and this area, it will take at least 2 months. Mark repeated. Besides, you're running around like an idiot causing chaos, so we need to get there as quickly and quietly as possible, the guy added. After all, if they go through the ant cave, then they can reach Peckridge in 5 days. Marcus saw the hero not to argue, but to silently follow him. Havis, seeing the hotel in front of him, was surprised, because the sun was still high in the sky, and there was no need to look for an inn. To enter the anthill, you must first obtain the queen's permission, Marcus said as he walked inside. The hero also did not understand what kind of queen there could be in this place. But the vice leader simply sighed heavily and led him along. If you have walked tens of thousands of miles from Mount Killian, what harm does it do if you bend your neck a little? He asked Havis. Marcus had really been here for a long time and couldn't believe he was back again. He stomped forward in a good mood and pleasant memories of this place, while those around him looked after them with contempt. Havis looked at every corner of this place. At first glance, everything looked chaotic, but they have their own set of rules and customs. It's like an anthill, because everyone has their own role. Looking around, the hero realized with disbelief that this place did not look like an ordinary hotel. And Mark has already chosen a place for them to gather. Havis doubted that the owner of the establishment created all this and assumed that it was the work of the queen herself. Do you want to eat something? Marcus picked up the menu. Despite your statements that we must hurry, you seem quite relaxed, the hero noted. Everything has its time. Be a little more patient. The guy answered. Havis asked who this local queen was, but the vice leader brushed off the question, citing the fact that he would soon find out everything himself. We were followed from the moment we entered here, said Marcus. The hero noticed that a crowd of people had gathered behind him. Look, they've already surrounded us, the guy said boldly, as if it was true. Ha! That's a club, you're caught, Mark mocked. You're angry, right? He continued to joke, but Havis simply silently looked at this circus. You can't use your forbidden technique a couple of times a day. Tapper is the end for you, the guy said self-confidently. For disrespecting me, I will make you pay 100-fold. Marcus muttered angrily. Meanwhile, important negotiations were taking place in the Heavenly Demon Coalition at Seonyang branch. The head of the branch gathered his subordinates. Is everything ready? Dominic asked them. Yes! I carefully planned the structure of the Ant Cave Labyrinth in complete secrecy, one of them reported. Have you found out her location? Asked the branch manager. Everything was done so that the one he was asking about could not escape. If we let her escape this time, this ridiculous game of hide and seek will continue forever. This may be our last chance, so warn your subordinates to be especially careful, Dominic insisted. Today we will continue the operation as planned. Seonyang is a vital forward base for the Heavenly Demon Coalition. However, those scavengers in the ant cave are destroying Seonyang from the inside by smuggling along with the Justice Alliance. The branch manager continued to speak. Today they were supposed to restore order in Seonyang. Do you understand me? Dominic shouted fervently. Yes! The warriors answered in unison. Having interrupted the motivating speech, one of the assistant managers came in and said that a certain problem had arisen. You should go outside and see for yourself, he said nervously. The branch guards drove the mysterious girl away from the entrance, threatening her. What's going on here? Dominic came out and asked. The guards explained that the mysterious girl wanted to see the branch manager, but did not want to introduce herself. Are you immortal? How dare you break in here? The leader was angry. Samantha silently threw a decree with the signet of the Heavenly Lord Diamond at his feet. Realizing who had the right to carry such decrees with seals, Dominic bit his tongue. Sorry, madam, I didn't recognize you. The branch manager tried to justify his rudeness. The Jade Empress took off her headdress and looked down on everyone. Why did you personally come to this wretched place? Are there really problems with our branch? Dominic was nervous, bowing. I came to fulfill the order of the heavenly ruler. It is said that the man who recently caused a commotion in the Mount Killian area has reached this place. Do you know anything about this? Asked Samantha. Dominic reported that they recently concentrated all their reconnaissance into the ant cave to conduct a major operation. Therefore, he has not heard any news about the person she is interested in. What is this major operation? Asked the Jade Empress. Some scoundrels in the ant cave belonging to the Justice Union are creating problems. We carried out operations to suppress large-scale smuggling, answered the branch manager. He also clarified that today is the day of the operation. Samantha heard that through the ant hill, you can easily enter the territory of the Union of Justice, and asked him if this was true. Dominic confirmed this information and said that they have experts who specialize in ant cave navigation. However, today all personnel are involved in the suppression operation. So going into Justice Alliance territory right now would be difficult, added the manager. Samantha thought a little about his words. If the operation ends quickly, can I immediately go to the territory of the Justice Union? Asked the Jade Empress. The head of the branch was confused by her question, so the girl immediately offered them her help in the operation. Dominic could not believe that the Empress would personally assist them. The warriors immediately cheered up when they heard this news, because the help of such a strong personality guarantees them success in their business. Dominic bowed and thanked the girl for such a favor. We have little time, so urgently bring me up to date, said Samantha. Meanwhile, at the hotel, Marcus was sure that a crowd of locals would help him take revenge on Havis. Why did you shut up? I know you just realized that you are helpless on my territory, the guy mocked. Mark? One of the people addressed him in a serious tone. Hello, Gregor. Long time no see, he answered. While he was trying to be nice, the man grabbed him by the collar, pulling him from the table. I see you've gained courage since you decided to crawl here again, Gregor said rudely. Hey, buddy, what's wrong with you? I am one of you. I consider you almost family. Marcus got nervous. It's only you who thinks so, puppy. He threw the guy to the floor. Havis watched all this silently. The queen is looking for you, so it is in your best interest to follow me. And isn't it better than me? Gregor spoke haughtily. God, what a sight! I have never seen anything more miserable, said the hero, continuing to simply sit on the chair with his hands folded. Havis, get up! Let's kick these ragamuffins' ass! Marcus immediately changed his shoes. You started it all, now go to your queen and sort it out on your own, answered the hero. What? Won't you help me? Mark panicked a little. Suddenly, Gregor turned to Heavy. You will come with me too, the man said confidently. Havis could no longer stand it, so he stood up. I don't care if the queen joins the Justice Alliance. I just want a territorial war right now. So take me to the anthill without any further fuss, he said. The aura and power that emanated from the hero as he spoke fairly frightened the local people. Oh, Gregor, you shouldn't have run into us, Marcus said, getting up. Have you forgotten that I am the demon of 100 shadows? The guy raised his tone. I seem weak just because I constantly smile, but in reality it's better not to joke with me. The vice leader of the fortress said confidently. People became nervous because they had heard a lot about the demon of 100 shadows. This is an invincible warrior who controls the shadow spirits that cover the battlefield. They were very afraid of such a master. Come on! There are only 2 of them. Don't stand there like fools, but attack! Gregor motivated people. Havis and Marcus took up positions. The people around them were also attacking at any moment. The situation has definitely become tense. Everyone stand! Some girl suddenly shouted. The hero and his companion turned around, wanting to find out who it was. That girl was the queen of the ant cave, accompanied by her 2 huge guards. She dragged Heavy and Mark into her waiting room and looked at them with displeasure. And so, long time no see. I already thought that I would never see your impudent face again. Let me guess, you're here to sell your junk again? The queen asked the vice leader of the fortress. What are you talking about? I came for something else. Marcus tried to be nice. You seem to have more space here, and, in general, everything has gotten better. The guy continued. Everything was lost because of you. You are nothing. The Heavenly Demon Coalition launched an attack after you left, Queen Belle shouted. What? Is it my fault that the Heavenly Demon Coalition launched an attack? Marcus was indignant. Havis, meanwhile, was wondering how such a petite lady survived all these ordeals. He couldn't believe that this was really the queen of the ant cave. Never mind. Don't even think about entering Justice Alliance territory through the ant cave without my permission, Belle answered firmly. Admit that you are just angry because of that trifle, Marcus blurted out without thinking. His words really caught her attention, so the reaction was immediate. Is the fact that you set a wedding date and then ran away a trifle? The queen was angry. Did you really do that? Havis asked him condemningly. No, all wrong. I had no intention of getting married. She just did as she pleased. The guy tried to justify himself. Aren't you ashamed? You should be grateful that I chose you as my groom, the girl said. God, I don't want to marry such a little thing. You are no match for me. Who would even want to marry someone like you? Marcus blurted out again without thinking. He apparently doesn't think much at all. It was very painful for Belle to hear this. Tears began to appear in her eyes. She couldn't believe he really thought that way. God, what garbage! He did not deserve the love of the Lord of Blood, the guards whispered. You two are going too far. Marcus was indignant because he heard everything. Forget about it. I don't want to see you anymore. Belle took her hand and left. Don't even think about ever returning here, she said, slamming the door behind her. Marcus realized that with his words he had hurt the fragile girl and perhaps lost her favor forever. Belle was the queen of the ant cave. She was also called the mistress of blood. This is a metaphor associated with an ant's nest. Her father was a high-ranking and famous figure in the previous Xiongyan expedition. He was a nobleman who helped the poor and extended a helping hand to those who needed it. However, when the Great Demon War broke out, even Sun Yang could not escape the military turmoil. Suspicions that a Justice Alliance agent was hiding among the refugees flocking to Xionyang prompted a coalition of heavenly demons to storm the refugee village. They killed Belle's father and massacred the refugees. The survivors, including Belle, continued the ideals of her father. They went deeper into the hole in order to survive. Thus, the ant cave and the queen were born. Evening came, the guys stood at the window and talked. This girl's story is impressive, said Havis. Even at such a young age, despite the loss of her parents and her small stature, she takes on responsibility and becomes the mistress of the blood. It's amazing how this little girl constantly pushes herself to save people and guard the ant cave. Marcus said admiringly, I didn't want to offend her. She's just like a little sister to me. Who would want to marry their sister? The guy explained. Marcus knew her from the cradle, so it was difficult to see her as a woman. Javi said they should talk calmly. If she was so dear to him, then she definitely shouldn't have been rude. But the vice leader of the fortress brushed off the hero's words, citing the fact that it was none of his business. Unexpectedly, Belle herself knocked on their door. She brought food and offered to have dinner together. I apologize for what happened earlier. I got a little carried away. I didn't even have time to greet you properly, the queen said sweetly. Are you Marcus's brother or mentor? Belle asked. My name is Havis. The hero introduced himself. What other mentor? Have you heard me call him that? Mark was indignant. A merchant can tell who has the advantage just by taking a quick glance. That's why you, Marcus, will never be able to compare with this man in your life, the queen noted. Before continuing the conversation, the girl had to clarify one important point. She asked Havis if he was being pursued by a coalition of heavenly demons. The hero boldly replied that there was nothing of the kind. He had nothing to do with them. Marcus was only indignant to himself because he was not being pursued by a coalition of heavenly demons, but by half of the Alliance of Justice. Well, this fact makes me happy because it is very difficult to accept someone who is being persecuted by a coalition of heavenly demons. Belle said. Havis inquired about the reason, because as far as he knew, the ant cave was not only located in Xionggang. The queen explained that after going through the Alliance of Justice and the coalition of heavenly demons, this organization has established control over the smuggling trade everywhere. In order to remain between two warring factions for a long time, they must avoid actions that may attract their attention. Did I understand correctly that I will not have any problems moving to the territory of the Justice Union? Asked Havis. It depends on what I get in return, the girl said intriguingly. The hero wondered what he could give her that was so important and valuable. And then he pointed his finger at Marcus, designating him as an object of exchange. Scoundrel! I will take revenge on you! How could you give me to them? We were already like family! Marcus shouted as the queen's guards led him away by the arms. I will lend it to you for one night only, said Havis. But Belle was happy with everything. She looked at her lover with wild eyes and rejoiced at this opportunity. When the queen left, she simply wished her new acquaintance good night in their luxurious guest room, which she had allocated for him. The anthill guards were on alert, even at such a late hour. The evening seemed terribly calm and boring to them. Oblivious to the danger, the guards dreamed of grilled meat and red wine. Suddenly, a shadow with shining eyes delivered a deadly accurate blow. Warriors of the coalition of heavenly demons quickly and deftly got rid of the anthill guards. Everyone was successfully eliminated, all according to their plan. Branch manager Dominic came out of the darkness and announced the start of the operation. He ordered his people not to take prisoners and to destroy everyone they met on their way. Meanwhile, the two young people had the opportunity to talk calmly in private. Belle and Marcus sat at the table looking at each other. "Why do you like me?" the guy asked. "What is it about me that repels you?" The queen was indignant. "You are beautiful. I couldn't find a better person than you," said the demon of 100 shadows. But the girl no longer believed in these words. "Listen, we grew up together. I grew up seeing you crawling in diapers, so how can I then see you as a woman?" Mark tried to convey. "You yourself said that when I grow up, you will marry me," Belle answered. "I was young, it wasn't serious," the guy said. "You are a real moral monster. I was ready to cut off my ring finger because of you," the girl said sadly. This meant that she was ready to renounce feelings and love forever. Marcus didn't expect her to take it so seriously. The queen said out of anger that the day would come when he would crawl to her feet, but then she herself would reject him. Marcus rolled his eyes and asked to do it faster. "By the way, who is this Master Havis who accompanies you?" the girl suddenly asked. "He's so cute," she said. Marcus almost choked at these words. The guy was in shock, not understanding how Havis could be interesting to her. "He is much more attractive than you." The queen dreamed of heavy sympathy. Marcus forbade her to even think about it. The girl was indignant, because he had just seen her find someone else to love. "He's a monster! His strength is on another level!" The demon of 100 shadows tried to convey. "What does this mean?" Belle asked. Marcus told her that Havis easily subjugated the leader Philip. The girl couldn't believe it. But the guy continued the story, saying that he uses a strange technique, thanks to which he sucks out the souls of other people. It happened so quickly that his victims did not have time to understand how they died. This story made Belle's hands tremble, but not from fear. She admired this man and his strength. Marcus wanted to tell her that although Havis has no problems with heavenly demons, this does not change the fact that the Justice Union is hunting him. As he was trying to say this, a powerful explosion was heard behind him. A servant burst into their chambers and said that they had serious problems. The man shouted that the people from the Heavenly Demon Coalition made a surprise attack. But the worst thing was that Dominic himself was leading the vanguard. Belle hated that scoundrel from Junyang branch. The servant also reported that the soldiers were secretly surrounding the ant cave. In addition, during the conversation, it turned out that they managed to quietly eliminate the northern guards, which is why they got through so easily. Belle understood that such a number of people indicated a well-crafted capture plan. Marcus intervened in their conversation. He presented himself as their savior, who would now figure everything out, because it was his time to shine. "Brother, you should leave. If they find out that there are people of the Union of Justice here, they won't even leave any stones," the Mistress of Blood said decisively. "I'll take care of everything," the girl said, and walked proudly. "How dare you devalue me?" Marcus was indignant. The territory of the anthill was completely on fire. There was devastation and chaos everywhere. The warriors of the Heavenly Demon Coalition were eager to kill everyone. They attacked the common people mercilessly. The Jade Empress walked forward, examining the fruits of the work of the people from her coalition. All around you could hear the cries of innocent people for help. One of these people grabbed Samantha as his last hope, praying for salvation. The girl did not approve of attacks on ordinary people. The man at her feet trusted in her conscience, offered all his property just to stay alive. At that moment, knives flew into his back, and this determined his fate in a second. Samantha, with sadness in her eyes, pushed his already dead body away. Dominic advised the girl not to sympathize with them. After all, he considered them all spies of the Union of Justice. If these people are truly spies for the Justice Alliance, would they bring their own children to the battlefield where life and death are at stake? The Empress asked with contempt. "I will only deal with those who resist. And you, as the head of the branch, must independently capture their leader." This is your goal, isn't it? Samantha said as she left. I understand you, madam. I'll follow the leader. Dominic answered. In a split second, he disappeared into the air like a ghost, leaving behind only a red haze. Even though 10 years have passed since the end of the Great Demon War, the girl is still surrounded by chaos and destruction. She still can't shake the smell of blood and the endless cycle of carnage. It was as if the Empress had already forgotten what an ordinary, calm life was. In the midst of a fire, a man with 2 children in his arms fled from the warriors of the coalition of heavenly demons. Due to his haste, he tripped over a stone and fell. Wait, I beg you to save the lives of my children, the man begged in a hopeless situation. Without the slightest drop of regret, these freaks, despite the pleas of the man and the crying of the children, intended to kill everyone. Suddenly, an unusual violet glow protected the father and children, hindering the movements of the warriors. They did not understand what was happening because there was almost no hope of survival. Havis, with his unusual technique, absorbed the worthless souls of evil warriors. The hero acted quickly, accurately, and without unnecessary words. Therefore, his victims did not even understand how they died. Are you alive there? Marcus suddenly appeared. Havis asked why the guy is here alone, without a queen? Marcus didn't even want to answer after he was sold like a pig, but he only said that it was becoming very dangerous here. Heavy said that first of all, we need to find a way to escape and save people, because this is the best way they can help. Marcus cursed the coalition of heavenly demons in every possible way, because there is nothing more vile than attacking defenseless people in the middle of the night. The hero, assessing the situation, concluded that this fire was not just lit. It was oil and sulfur that were used to spread the flames further. This only indicated that the attack was carefully planned. Marcus fiddled with the boards for a long time, and suddenly found what he was looking for. It was a secret passage that could help people escape, but they had to hurry. Suddenly, the demon of 100 shadows heard something. It was Gregor, barely standing on his feet. Marcus immediately rushed towards him. He is here. He has come. The man spoke quietly. Marcus tried to bring him to his senses. Gregor, pull yourself together! We need you! The guy shouted. Calm down and speak slowly. Who came? Asked the vice leader of the fortress. Dominic is here! Gregor warned with all his might. Thanks for the information. I'm sorry you were put in such danger. You urgently need medicine and rest, Marcus said. Gregor grabbed the guy by the hand and insisted that everything would be fine with him. The main thing is to protect the mistress of the blood. This is more important than my health, he said. Dominic went after her, the man repeated. Havis, please protect this place, Mark said in a serious tone. The hero wanted to go with him, but the guy refused his help. This is the place where Justice Alliance spies are active. If it becomes known that a person has appeared in the ant cave, persecuted by the Alliance of Justice, then everything here will be demolished. The demon of 100 shadows spoke confidently. Are you sure you did it yourself? Asked Havis. This is my duty. I must deal with everything myself. For the first time, Marcus said something smart. Everything was consumed by a merciless fire. Belle looked at this with pain. The girl could not believe her eyes. It was difficult to realize that all her works were burning and people were dying. Only heartless barbarians are capable of such a thing. Lord of Blood, we need to get out of here, said the served. But this is our home. We have to hold on until everyone runs away, the queen repeated. The subject tried to explain that she was very important and she needed to be saved urgently, and they, in turn, would gain some time for this. As soon as he said this, he was struck from behind by a fatal blow. Belle watched in horror as her subordinate fell dead. So I found you, Queen of the Ant Cave. Dominic smiled maniacally. The guards immediately asked to protect their mistress of blood, despite the fear of death. Little bugs, I will crush you all, the branch manager shouted. You have no right to get under my arms, he said, taking the lives of these brave people. I can't believe you gave me so many stress problems for 10 whole years, Dominic repeated angrily. Lady of Blood, run! The queen's guard shouted with his last breath. For such liberty, the head of the branch severely punished him. Belle was horrified. Before her eyes, her devoted people, whose lives were very valuable to her, were dying. What is, darling? You're so scared that your legs are shaking. You probably didn't expect that the ant cave that you are so proud of would become your grave, said Dominic. Are you going to kill everyone here? Even if they have nothing to do with the Justice Union? Belle asked anxiously. Say what you want, Queen. Tonight, you pathetic spies of the Alliance of Justice will be burned, Dominic proudly presented. You smug bastard, the queen shouted. Do you think I'll let you? I'll show you who's pathetic here, she said, rushing to attack. The Lady of Blood, like the moth of death, ascended high and was ready to kill this insignificant person. Dominic saw all her intentions, so to distract attention, he covered the place. For a second, it seemed to Belle that she had managed to kill the enemy, because his shadow was cut into pieces. All that was left of him was a red silhouette. This illusory technique is used only by very strong people whose capabilities are unpredictable. Did you really think you could kill me with such lousy skills? Asked the branch manager, who appeared behind the queen like a ghost. At that moment, the girl experienced even greater hatred for him. You are a vile and arrogant person, she said, swinging her sword. I will destroy you, Belle shouted, aiming straight at her enemy's head. Are you serious, queen? Dominic answered, deftly dodging her blows. I won't miss again, the girl said. During the next attempt to strike, Dominic grabbed her sword with his deadly hand. Lady of the Blood, is it appropriate to speak in such a tone with guests? He wanted to anger the girl even more. Holding the queen's sword with one hand, Dominic activated the other. It oozed with tongues of eerie energy. The man, like a tiger's paw, wanted to hook his victim, but the girl managed to minimize his blow. She stood firmly on her feet and managed to jump to the side. Everything around was on fire. The queen seemed to be in hell, where an evil demon haunted her. Belle realized that he used the terrible 100-poison bloody palm technique. Even a drop of those poisons could do terrible harm. Come on! Are you aware of such a rare technique? The branch manager asked with a smile. I thought you weren't interested in anything else other than smuggling, Dominic mocked. The queen was well aware of the 100-poison bloody palm technique, also called the bloody hand that points to the sky. This technique had a bad reputation for a reason. After all, during the height of the Great Demon War, this technique had its finest hour. Dominic mercilessly destroyed all children and adults with poisonous equipment. Absolutely everyone in Xiangyang knows about this. It seems that after the Great War, your head has not yet completely crumbled, Belle said. I will take your words as a compliment, said the branch manager, directing all his anger and strength at the girl. The queen saw that a wave of Dominic's technology was rushing towards her. Something had to be done urgently. She managed to dodge the first wave, which demolished everything in its path. While dodging the second one, her hand was slightly grazed, but this was enough for the poison to begin to take effect. You couldn't handle such a simple attack? Do you think you can resist my blood technique? God, how funny! Dominic rejoiced. Okay, let's play and that's enough. I came to get rid of you, he said, moving on to more severe techniques. Like a bullet, he took off from the place where he stood, leaving behind a soot of dust. Belle's arm hurt a lot, but she wasn't going to give up. The Lady of Blood activated her power and prepared to fight back. The queen, pushing off from the ground, rushed to attack. It was like they were old enemies colliding in the air, not giving each other a chance to gain the upper hand. Belle, with all the malice in her soul and eyes, took revenge for her land and the innocent people whose lives were taken by this scoundrel. The fragile petal and the seasoned titan of the bloody war equally wanted to defeat each other. Die, Dominic, said the girl, hoping to strike a decisive blow, but he was like a snake, twisting and dodging as if he was always one step ahead. When the queen's sword was already near his head, he smiled, because he had already thought of something. With his bloodthirsty hand, Dominic tightly grabbed her weapon. The Lady of Blood couldn't believe what she was seeing, and the branch manager was even amused by her shock. The sword in his hand melted like ice in the sun. After all, the poison was so powerful that even steel could not withstand it. What a cute attack, the man continued to mock. He waved his hand and pushed the queen away with a stream of his energy. She fell exhausted. In the end, the Mistress of Blood realized that this man was too strong and she could not defeat herself. It looks like you finally realized how terrible a person I am, which makes me happy, the branch deputy joked. Bloody Palm of 100 Poisons is a type of martial art in which 100 different potent poisonous substances are injected into the hands. This technique is so difficult to learn that very few, even in the Heavenly Demon Coalition, are able to use it. But I was determined to kill all the worthless insects of the Justice Union in your ant cave. Therefore, he successfully mastered this extremely evil martial art, Dominic shouted, as if not to himself. Are you really sick, shell-shocked in the war? Belle asked.